Myles, are you with us?
54 days, Brian.
Oh.
54 days.
I don't know. My counter says 53 days and 5 hours, so I'm just going to go with that.
Yeah, well, 53 and 1 hour or 57 minutes for me. Yeah, so I'm happier with that, actually. Yeah, that sounds a lot better.
Yeah, it really does. Myles, do you have...
Does it feel close?
No,
you get your question. Your question.
It does feel close. It feels way too close, man. Like we're not, you and me. We're not and obviously Wes and AJ. We're not the average consumer, man. We got shit to do. We don't get to just this thing doesn't just get to show up and we get to casually play our new games. There's work associated with it. So it feels too close. And every day that passes, I go, how am I going to prepare for this thing? How am I going to prepare for this? And so yeah, it feels really, really close. How does it feel to you?
Yeah, it's close as well. It's like those battle scenes in the movies where you got this massive field on the horizon. There's just a massive army that you know you're going to have to fight soon, except it's just millions of pixels that are going to be in our eyes and over 20 plus games. So, yeah, it'll be a nice calm start to March.
Millions of pixels. Pixels for me. Millions of pixels. Okay, let's start the show. Pixels come from a can. They were put there by a man in a factory downtown. This is PSVR GameSCAST Live, where we film live every single Monday, West Day, and Two Wise Friday right here. We do it live on YouTube at 6 p.m. Eastern for your viewing pleasure. If you don't like to use your eyes to listen, you can always listen with these things right here. Headphones or your ears, depending on your level of technical expertise. I don't know where I'm going with this, because Jamie Howe uploads this thing on podcast services of your choice. Yes, that includes Spotify. People have thousands of hours logged in PSVR GamesCast Live in 2022. Can only imagine how many thousands of hours are coming in 2023 for you. My name is Bryan Poffnish, right here, PSVR Without Parole. This gentleman over here to my right, all the way across the pond, is Myles Dyer from Myles Dyer Official.
Thank you, Brian. GameCats, how are we doing? It's the last GamesCast live of 2022. And actually, when we were speaking just beforehand, we're like, and then we just continue on Monday. It was my last Myles Dyer live on Wednesday, and some people who were newer to the show were like, "Oh, so what? You done for a while?" It's like, no, we'll continue next Wednesday. But we are exiting 2022, which has been quite a year, for good and for bad, and we're entering the year of PSVR2.
Yeah, I mean, are they changing like the Chinese like calendar? Because like the year of the dragon,
oh yeah,
the year of the snake, and then this year's the year of PSVR2.
Exactly.
Yeah, probably seems.
It's a cat with the headset on. It's gonna be wicked.
Yes, the year of the virtual cat. I think that's got to be a thing.
Year of the game cat. I love it.
Yep. Dude, we have so much stuff to talk about. In Nick Mulo in the chat does remind us. He says pixels for free. Not free. Pixels are not actually free. Millions of pixels are going to cost us quite a bit of money. And Nick, I got to say, I'm really behind on everything. But Nick sent me for Christmas a wireless charger for my phone. And I just opened the box right before GamesCast, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be cool. I'm gonna set it up, and I'm gonna be able to charge my phone wirelelessly. And so this thing looks pretty self-explanatory, right? Like you rest your phone on this, and then it comes with this. and I'm like, I don't
a coaster,
a really expensive coaster. And I was like, oh man, this is going to require instructions. so I put it off to the side because we're running 3 minutes late for GamesCast as is. But thank you, Nick, for the Christmas gift. I love it. I just can't wait to figure it out. Dude, we got a couple, before we even really get into the show, do any housekeeping, I think we should just take care of a couple tips, starting with Mike Blankenhorn with a $5 tip, says Boneworks/Bonelab PSVR2. This is a cat.
Hello, cat.
Okay. Can I have my coffee?
Hello, cat's tail.
Yeah, I'm just going to take my coffee over here out of... There we go. Miles, you and I aren't like big PC VR gamers, but obviously these are big PC VR games. These are games that have attracted a lot of attention. Thank you for putting that on the floor. That's exactly where I wanted it, Tornado. These are games that I think are going to attract a lot of people to PSVR 2. The developers haven't said anything definite yet, so I don't want to be like, oh yeah, they're absolutely coming. But the developers have said, oh, like we're very, very interested. I think it's. Do I have this right? Is this stress level 0? Oh, man, I think I'm always concerned about developers because I take that shit seriously, and now I can't remember who developed what. But yeah, so I mean, really hope
stress level 0.
It is. I hope they announce something soon. Have you looked into these games at all, Miles?
So I joked about it briefly last week a bit, wondering if it was going to go, and it was a genuine curiosity because although I've not played it, it has taken the internet by storm. And everyone's been going on about it. I don't actually know too much other than it is this experimental physics sandbox where you can just create situations and go to town with. I assume it is just combat. I don't know if there are other
puzzles
things that you can. Oh, it's puzzles as well.
Oh, yeah, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and so it's something that I would love to be able to play on PSVR 2. To be honest, I just want this to be an opportunity for games just to flood on over, and you've spoken about this on Friday's show a bit. Wednesday's show, and we're speaking about it on Friday's show now. But it's like it's no longer an issue of developers. The ceiling is like we're making it for Quest 2. We want PSVR 2 to be the place that everyone wants to create games for. And that doesn't necessarily just mean new games, although we are excited for new games. It also means for games that have come before, let's see them in the best version with the best hardware. Yep. And that's going to be PSVR 2. And so, yeah, Bonelab with haptics, with eye tracking, the DualSense controllers, it's just going to be wonderful. So, yeah, I would love to get a chance to get my teeth into it there.
Yeah. I'm looking in the chat, and there's always mixed opinions about every game that we talk about. But for the amount of love that Boneworks and Bonelabs get online, it's actually shocking that there's actually another huge divisive that this is a pretty divisive game. That when where we are with VR, we're kind of like we're a little bit desperate for big new games, and then this comes out, and then a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, no, this is just like this just isn't what I'm looking for," and so definitely want to get around to trying it for myself, and it looks like the type of game that if you really like modding things and screwing with like settings and fucking around with physics, then this might be a good game for you. But let's see, hold on a second. Awesome Tatum says Boneworks is the better of the two, in my opinion, which is interesting. That was the first one. And Your Long Shadow says these games will bring in very few non-VR fans. We need ones that showcase. We need that showcase. Bangs table. Got it. Okay, all caught up.
Yeah, but the thing I would say is, from a marketing perspective, the thing I keep going on about being excited for with PSVR 2 is the broadcast functionality. It only just came to my I only just remembered it in the past week because I've been playing Survive with my friend Johnny, and there was a really funny moment where I picked up what I didn't know at the time was a bomb. I picked up this pipe thing and it started bleeping, and I said, "Dude, what is this? Is this like a tracker?" He's like, "I don't know. What is it doing?" And then eventually it just explodes and blows up, and it was the funniest thing ever. And he clicked on his controller to save the clip. But the default for PSVR on a PS5 is it only saves like the last 15, 30 seconds. There's a lot of issues like it, so the clip wasn't usable. And it's one of the reasons I've not really done many clips of the week, because I've run out of all the stuff from when I was playing on my PS4. But for the PS5 and PSVR 2, they've really made it clear that the interface around broadcasting, and I hopefully with the share button, is going to be great too. And that is how you market PSVR 2 in the games. And Bonelabs is a game, whether you like it or not, will have lots of funny clips that people will share. And if it's like, where was this played on? Oh, it's on PSVR 2. I might get that as well. So although it might not bring a lot of non-VR gamers into VR, I still think it has an important role to play. And just lastly, Brian, talking about, it can be quite a divisive game. I find that's always the case with the most popular games of all time, whether it's Minecraft, Fortnite. Naturally, if you've got a game that is just that deep in the mainstream, there's going to be people that are vocally opposed to it, and that's totally cool. There are games that are liked by people and disliked, and if they're ones that are really popular and talked about a lot, you're going to get that sense of split in opinion anyway. But it's got a role to play, and I think it would not have a negative side to it coming over to PSVR2. I think it could only mean good things.
Absolutely not. Definitely no negative side. In fact, Ash VR, the groovy Gamecat, says what I think a lot of us are thinking. It says, I want to play everything. VR is about jumping into new worlds. And I totally agree with that. It's easy to kind of point and be like, oh, it seems like kind of like a physics tech demo and this and that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Fact is, I just want to play everything. I just want to play absolutely everything and get my hands on. And again, like we keep saying, like you just said, like games that we've heard about and haven't actually gotten a chance to get our hands on. Whether that be because we don't have any way to play it, or just because we don't have the technical, or we just don't have the desire. Once things pop onto PlayStation VR2, the desire, for me at least, is going to change dramatically. There were tons of games that came out on the flat screen that if they didn't get a VR version, I absolutely never would have played them, period. And then I was really happy that I played them. That's a great thing about VR. Makes everything better. We got Grizzly Bear King in the chat with a $10 tip. Says, I came here looking for the best It's the last GamesCast of 2022, PSVR GamesCast Live on YouTube, and that's exactly what I found. Hey, Brian. Hey, Myles. Hey, Cats.
Welcome. You found the right place.
He did. Thank you guys for your generosity. Always appreciated. Professor Lil, the $5 tip, says, Happy New Year's, GameCats. We start this year's Sunday multiplayer the same as... Hold on. We start this year's Sunday multiplayer is the same as the Backlog Club. My eyes are going, and if I'm reading this wrong, I apologize.
It's the end of the year, Brian. Your eyes are allowed to go. It's on the 30th of December.
Nice.
Nice. That was unconvinced.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm very unconvinced.
Trust me, you're going to wake up on the 1st of January, and it'll be back again, and you'll be good.
I'm just like, I'm hoping it comes back later tonight. I don't know if I want to wait a few days for my vision to come back. But Professor Lewis says this Sunday's multiplayer meetup is Killing Floor, Zombies and Mild Puzzles. If you guys haven't played Killing Floor, shockingly, one of the best looking games on PSVR. It's crazy. You jump into that. The resolution's like really high. The environments are great. I remember the first time I started up, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a scary game. It turned out not to be. But man, the beginning, the very first level that you start walking through is just like, you're in the woods, and there's like, you walk up this bridge, and there's like a little campfire kind of set up. And the whole time I'm like, what's about to happen? And the environments were nice enough where I was like, man, I'm ready for anything. This is scary. And so if you haven't had a chance to play that game or play it in multiplayer, it's definitely better in multiplayer. It's so much fun. Yeah. So good stuff, you guys. Join our Discord. That's a good segue. If you want to get in on the multiplayer meetup, join our Discord. Click the link in the description below, and head on over there, man. There's a Backlog Club that's trying to play a bunch of games on PSVR 1 before PSVR 2 comes out. There's the multiplayer meetup that happens every single Sunday. Thank you, Professor Lilith, for organizing that all the time. So many games that are probably in your backlog that never get played. And while you're clicking on links in the description below, don't forget to subscribe to my friend over here, Myles Dyer, who's doing great things on his own YouTube channel. Myles, what have you been doing on your YouTube channel?
Brian, there's been a lot. I mean, Wednesday was the last one of the year, and so it was a bit of a roundup. I spoke about, I actually put together a list of 12 things, one for each month of the year, and it really does put things in perspective. So I joined PSVR Without Parole on the 1st of April, and actually looking at the episode then, and just seeing like my setup and how it's changed, even looking at how my live show looked at the start of the year. I'm probably going to do a social post about it tomorrow. It really shows you how much can change in just a year. But it's actually a really cool episode to watch, that PSVR Without Parole, because you're introducing me. I'm a bit apprehensive in terms of wanting to make sure I don't screw up the first time and make good first impressions and stuff like that. And it's just been an amazing journey to be a part of this in front of the camera with the community. So I just want to thank everyone that's been so supportive and lovely all year so far and hasn't been sick of me yet. You've got a whole year of that when PSVR2 comes out, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity, Bryan. But also, just looking ahead, I've been doing a lot of planning behind the scenes for shows in the new year. I'm getting a lot of content ready. I'm going to be doing regular Instagram Reel posts and might be doing TikTok. But also on the 2nd of January, which is on Monday, I am renting again The Last of Us Part 1, even though I sent it back. I'm still waiting for the Callisto Protocol to come and it hasn't arrived yet. So I said, you know what, put that on hold, because The Last of Us TV series is coming out, I think, on the 14th in America and then the 15th the UK, or it's the 15th, 16th. Don't quote me on that. I'm basically going to be doing a live stream every day in the lead up to the show, playing a chapter of The Last of Us. So if you've never experienced the story and want to, subscribe to my channel. It's going to be the first time I've done a regular gaming live stream. And I've always mentioned, I like to live stream VR gaming, but it's just never been that great quality on PSVR. That's the reality. And it's going to be a good way of, preparing things, because once PSVR 2 comes out, it's going to be a regular occurrence on my channel that I'll start doing some regular VR streams. So I'm excited for that as well.
Stike pointed out that I missed a tip, and I never like missing tips. Although Zombie says I missed 2 tips, I'm not sure if that's true or not. I know that this is the tip that we missed. Owando Cat, Kernando Cat. What a fantastic name you have changed to, my friend, with the 20 euro. Says, this is it. We've been on the border of the year of PSVR 2. We're on the border of the year of PSVR 2. Somebody else needs to host the show until my vision comes back. So happy to be here with all of you. Feels like just 3 months ago that the counter said 75 days. It does feel like 3 months ago. I don't know if he's saying doing this intentionally, but yeah, I think what he's saying is that the time is going by so slowly, and we're having this. Everything's falling apart here. I don't know if you guys can tell. This mic, this booms in, it gets worse every episode. It just refuses to stay where it's supposed to be, and then the headphones just fell off my head simultaneously as I was trying to fix it. So I'm just what a fucking disaster. I can't wait for 2022 to be over, Myles. Will all of this be different in 2023? The answer is absolutely fucking not. 2023 is going to be even a bigger shit show. But yeah, watch someone let go and it's going to go whoomp. So it's going to hold it the whole time. It's all right, this is it. I feel like I'm terrified. I'm hiding behind a microphone. Is Jack going to come get me?
We're gonna buy you lots of gaffer tape, lots of duct tape.
You still in the laundry room, Myles? How's the Resident Evil 7 playthrough going?
I got past the laundry room.
How far past?
A good 3 footsteps.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were big footsteps. Big footsteps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in another VHS tape. Yeah. I will be returning to that at some point, but most likely it'll be Resident Evil Village. I'm really excited for playing that.
I don't know if Village gives you a pass on Biohazard. You can't just be like, Village is out, so we have to move on, because no. In fact, if I feel like I was just talking about this in voice chat earlier. I feel like the perfect punishment for you, Myles, for being the little chicken that you've been the last year, is if Resident Evil 7 gets a PSVR 2 upgrade.
I can't wait.
Right?
I'll play it.
Because you've been I'm too scared to play Resident Evil 7 on PSVR 1 with low resolution and the dual.
Exactly.
So
that's exactly it, Bryan.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for that. That's why I've been taking my time, because every time I'm in the laundry room, I'm like, this would look much better in 4K.
And so the perfect punishment.
It's not a punishment. It's been my pleasure.
Perfect punishment for your little chicken attitude would be to have to play a more realistic version of it. And be more immersed. Yeah, I think this is perfect. In fact, I'm so happy that you haven't finished it now, because if that version comes, I'm just gonna laugh so hard, because I'm Myles has to play the scarier version. How's that gonna go?
Let's do some PSVR Without Parole adult diapers on the merch store.
Let's do it. I think that logo would great on that
they'll
plastic
sell out.
finish. Yeah,
they'll sell out as soon as I have that game.
they'll sell out because you're purchasing them all.
Yep.
Okay. Man Bear Pig Game Cat with the $2 tip says, "Hell yeah, we love you, Myles. We are so close to PSVR2." Myles love in the chat. I'm guessing most of it's from the UK.
No, there's not a lot of love. There's Myles is a grifter, not even a VR gamer. Yeah, I don't even own VR. Yeah, you're right.
We control the messaging, Myles. Right? Yeah. History is written by the victors. We're the victors. We can decide what the chat is saying just by reading the comments we choose to read. If you don't read the ones you don't like, they don't exist.
Let's make Myles play RE7 in an abandoned house. No, let's not. I mean, I am in an abandoned house. Yeah, Capcom releases RE7 for PSVR2, and the press release just says, "You better fucking play it, Myles." I'd love it. Yeah.
Wow.
But Bryan, actually, before I forget, there have been a few VR games I have been playing this week.
Yeah.
A couple have been on catch up, and one was obviously Survive, because on Friday's show last week, co-op wasn't working, and then it worked straight after, but I had to get some sleep. But I woke up to the breaking news that it'd been fixed, and I'm having a good time with it. My friend Johnny, who I play co-op with, he's not having a great time at the moment. He's still having a lot of tracking issues. And he keeps going through the setup again. He's not sure if it's the game or just his setup. For me, I'm just like, this is another reason why I can't wait for PSVR 2, because then you're not going to be worried about the light tracking. You know, it's going to be just much, much better. But for Survive, I'm really enjoying it. I was worried that it was going to start feeling very repetitive of just go from A to B, B to A, and now we're in the sewer level. We're currently looking for the key to get through a door, and then we had to call it a day. Are you quite far in the game, Bryan? And what are your thoughts on it?
No, I'm not quite far. I'll be honest, man. Like I'm struggling with this quite a bit. It's because my tracking seems to be working fine. I am experiencing some drift if I play longer than like an hour, which I don't enjoy. No one should. And at this point, it's not even my game, or it's not even Survive, because I do find that this new setup that I've been trying to work with and trying to perfect with, in order to have me on the screen while I'm doing Let's Plays, has just been terrible for my tracking. It's been the worst thing ever. So I just need to change it back to the way that it was, get rid of me on the screen, and make my tracking perfect the way that it has been for the better part of the last 6 years. And because Survive is one of those games that really, like, the controls are already kind of a mess, and I say kind of a mess in the most positive way possible. There's so much stuff happening in that game. You have to like click the exact right place behind your back in order to bring up your backpack. You have to like pull things out, and then sometimes you try to put things in your backpack, they don't stay there. And then of course and you're constantly doing multiple things with your hands. That's a weird thing to say, but in a game like this, hopefully I can explain it a little bit better. Sometimes you're shooting a two-handed weapon, and sometimes you're carrying something and trying to shoot, and in the entire time you've also got this tablet that you have to bring up your backpack to pull out, and then that's your map, and so so if you want to like not be lost, you also have to have the map out, and so now you're carrying something, you're shooting, and you get the map out, and that's I only have two hands, and so you're constantly trying to swap these things out, and if you don't have perfect tracking, then you're in big trouble, because it's the controls are a little bit janky to begin with, and so adding all these things up, I can see, because this is how it's working for me, how it might not work very well for some people.
Yeah. The difference between using the move button and the trigger button for different things is quite complicated. Something I still haven't worked out how to do in the game yet, and it's probably got a simple answer, is when it comes to shotguns or magnums, where you get the boxes of bullets. Mm-hmm. How do you get the bullets out of them?
I don't know.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Wait, when you're holding the magnum, you can't. When you reach down to grab more bullets from your belt.
I found the magnum bullets where it is the actual. That you just plug in and the bullets go in. I don't even know what the term is called for a gun. I'm from the UK. We don't even know what that, what guns are.
What are guns? Yeah.
But when you have like the boxes of the bullets and it's the boxes of the shotgun shells, I don't know how you actually open the box because I'm like trying to do all these combinations, no idea. And then the other thing is the bow and arrow. Firstly, the bow and arrow feels amazing when you shoot it, but I wish you were able to have your quiver, all your arrows like on your shoulder, and you're able to pick one out and pull it like once you know what side it's on. That would be amazing. But at the moment, my understanding is you have to hold the bow, you have to bring up the backpack menu, and then select a single arrow, and then just keep picking the arrow off the floor or out of the skull once you've done it. Yeah. There's a lot of small things like that which might have legitimate answers. I've not discovered them yet. And as we were joking about last week, I didn't want to make the joke because I thought I would have been lying, but it turns out it was true. In the tutorial, you have to actually move down the path to get to the first tutorial, which is how to move. So I feel like there's a lot of that coming. So Survive, I'm having a really great time with. And it just makes me wish I could play it 4-player, because there are certain missions where it's just like, yeah, with more people. You were mentioning how it has that Silent Hill feel, to it. My friend Johnny hadn't heard you say that. He mentioned the same thing in game, and I think it's exactly the reason why Silent Hill was the way it was. They weren't able to render long distances, right, so they had to make it foggy, and that's exactly what they've done here. And you know what? It works. It feels awesome.
Why isn't Johnny watching the show? I feel personally
he is.
offended.
I believe he is.
Okay, well then I say this with all love, Johnny. Fuck you.
Yeah, actually, yeah. For last week, shame on him.
How dare you? But no, just kidding.
Yeah, I'll clip it. I'll send it him, and then we'll get him back.
Oh yeah, I think that'll do the trick.
Well, it'll definitely do.
Yeah,
guilt tripping is always a good marketing tool. The other 2 games I've been playing this week, because they were on discount. One was Stride, that you've always spoken favourably of, and I've always wanted to jump into. What?
This episode reeks of us having no topics to talk about. It's like it's just like reading tips, and we're like, what have we been up to for like 45 minutes? We haven't gotten to our first topic yet. This reeks of a show that we're just phoning it in, but you guys are just going to get a crazy long episode because we haven't gotten to our first topic. I love you. I love you, Myles. This is just how shit goes with us.
This is good. But Stride and 1976 Back to Midway, I'm having an absolute blast with them both. What VR games have you been playing this week? Just Survive. Survive in Fortnite.
No, the only I don't think Fortnite's VR.
It's not.
Nope. the only VR game I've been playing this week was Tale of Onogoro, because that was a stealth launch, just like everything else that's been coming out recently. A stealth launch, and it's shockingly decent. I mean, I can't even say good, because it's just like it feels like what average PSVR games should feel like, right? Because Survive's janky and it's blurry and whatever. Car Mechanic Simulator has like the worst control scheme like ever, in a terrible tutorial, and like every single game that I've played recently has just been like, oh god, it's like, and so to finally get one that I'm like, oh yeah, no, the resolution looks okay in this, and the controls work the way they're supposed to, and like, oh, I shoot with the trigger. Oh Jesus, that like as if that should be something that we should be shocked, but it is now. When I have a gun and I pull the trigger and that's how the thing shoots, that shouldn't be something that surprises me, Myles. We're 6 years into PSVR1. And I'm shocked when I pull a trigger and it fires the weapon that I'm holding, because Cave Digger. I mean, like, just insanity, man. We've had a crazy kind of last year for PSVR, that when a game actually comes along that's like decent and does everything just like it does the bare minimum, I'm like, this is great, right? Like, yeah. I'm gonna have to like sort of like reevaluate my thoughts on Tale of Onogoro, because like it really is just fine. Like it's pretty much the epitome of like a 6.8, 7 out of 10. But everything works so well and it looks better than all the crap we've been getting, that I'm like, thank you somebody for finally doing something right. So that's what I've been doing this week. I want to review it. I should have a review out in the next couple days.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We've got quite a few tips.
Yes, we do, sir. Let's start off with Owando Cat Kernando Cat, the 50 euros. Holy motherfucking
Whoa.
MFF for life. That's redundant. He says, because 20 wasn't enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Much love.
Thank you.
Simply Mincy with a $30 tip. I'm going to be able to pay my bills this month. Myles, how fucking cool is this? Writes, Happy New Year's. Thanks for all the work you do. Thank you very much for thinking that I work. That's a wonderful thing. Hang out with me in voice chat. You'll be like, does this guy do anything? He just sits around and talks in voice chat and plays Fortnite. Like, but thank you for believing, because I need you to believe. This is the calm before the storm for sure. I know when PSVR2 gets here, like I'm just never going to sleep again. Waleed is now a Gamecat, specifically a White Tiger with the Canadian $5 tip, says, thank you, Bryan, for the great regular PSVR coverage. I wish and pray that 2023 be an amazing year for Without Parole. Inshallah. God, I hope I didn't say anything that I shouldn't say. Is that a real?
God willing. God willing.
He wrote God willing to tell me what it is. I don't know things, man. I'm not cultured. I just say what people tell me to in the tips, and then I get in trouble later on. Like, you shouldn't have said that. Like, that is very ableist. And I was like, I'm very sorry. I do not wish to offend anybody. Katie Foley with the £5. Happy New Year. Love you both from UK. We'll try to watch CES. So looking forward to my PSVR 2 40th birthday release. Katie, awesome. Is your birthday on February 22nd? Because happy early birthday. We got to remember when we do the launch day live streams to also wish Katie a happy birthday. Be like, happy PSVR 2 day, everybody. Also, happy birthday, Katie Foley.
Oh man, it's gonna be a good time. So the Friday before it comes out, the 17th, be doing a show. It's my birthday, so it's going to feel like a really good birthday week to have. I mean, I wish I had it on my birthday, and I'm also worried that it doesn't actually arrive because it's the release week.
Yeah.
Please. I'm sure it will come on. Yeah. Did we also do the Man Bear Pig tip?
Oh, dude, did I somehow I've been missing tips just, left and right.
I'm happy to read it again. Man Bear Pig GameCat with the $1.99 tip says, hell yeah, we love you, Myles. We are so close to PSVR2. Yeah, so that was definitely... I'm glad I reread that one.
Yeah, I mean, anything that says Myles in it is worth reading twice.
Yeah, because it's probably wrong.
And then closing out this tip segment, we will get back to tips after we actually get a few of our stories done. Waleed is now a Gamecat, specifically a White Tiger with the Canadian $2 tip, says, you said it perfectly. Happy New Year, Gamecats. That's awesome.
Chef's kiss. With him.
Yeah. Myles, we do have quite a bit to talk about.
Let's do it.
I don't know if you saw this. I'm assuming that you did, because it was all over the place yesterday. Edge magazine, the physical publication, it does have a digital version. You can get it on Kindle and that kind of thing. Had a cover feature for PSVR 2, and it's so. It seems very, very positive. Everything that we see in Edge magazine. It seemed very, very positive. They talked to a bunch of different developers. We actually got a few different news stories out of this thing. But before we get into those news stories, I do want to point out a couple quotes that I saw. And the first one came from the Switchback developers. They said, and if you guys don't know, Switchback is, of course, the roller coaster shooter game. It's basically Rush of Blood 2. They said, with haptic feedback, you feel the motion of the roller coaster on the rails. You feel the rain on your hands. Myles, this is sort of something that we'd speculated on, being like, will the feedback in the sense controllers give us these sensations? Will the rumble in the headset give us a bit more immersion? Will all this be effective? Were you expecting things as detailed as like rain falling on your hands to be something that you would sense in the sense controllers?
It's a yes and no. Yes, in the sense that we've seen clips of Call of the Mountain where they're on the boat in the river and putting their hands in the water. And also when I think about the DualSense controller made for the PS5, it was always the same things we heard about. when you pull the bow and arrow, you can feel the tension in the bow itself. But having examples like this expressed and spelled out is also the no, in the sense of I didn't think of it being used in this way specifically. And what I'm really excited about is when the DualSense controller for the PS5 has been used well, it's mind-blowing. The Astrobot is still one of the most incredible experiences ever. And the sort of two examples on that game I always recall is when you're skating on the ice, the combination of the sound and what you're feeling in your hand, it feels like you're on ice. It's so tactile and so immersive. And then the other bit was where you're rolling the ball on the rocks, and when it was going over the bumpy rocks, the way I sounded mad, but I was saying to people, it literally feels like you've got rocks in your hand. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
Now that is playing a game on a flat screen, other side of the room. You talk about this a lot. Doesn't compare to when you're actually in the game. So when you're actually going to be using controllers where in game you're looking at your hands and you're in the virtual world, to have that with haptics, they're going to have them programmed and tested in ways that are going to be just unthinkable. And so when I hear examples described like this, it makes me super, super excited, because I think no matter what they describe to us, it's going to come nowhere near close to what it's like when we're finally in it and experiencing it. Because we've seen how immersive things can be with Move controllers, which are really old bits of equipment. But there are games still now, I think of Saints and Sinners, when you're stabbing the zombies in the head and you're having to pull the knife out. It feels so good. And it's just very simple vibrations on a Move controller. When it's with haptics and all the textures they can create with the 3D audio and everything else going on, oh man, it's going to be mind-blowing.
So not to toot my own horn, because you know how much I hate to toot that.
Definitely.
I don't even know how long ago this was, but I'd like to find out. I'd like to go back and find the episode where we talked about this kind of stuff. I want to say that it was a GamesCast Live, so it was long enough ago where it was me, Dave, and AJ, and somebody had posed the question, as we get posed very frequently: will there be a PSVR Worlds 2? And would you guys mind speculating on what you think would be included in that? Right? Because I think Worlds 1 was so good getting people kind of getting comfortable with VR, right? Like, I mean, as you even had the Shark Cage experience, the Ocean's Descent, where you didn't need to be a gamer. You didn't need to have any familiarity with controls. You're just thrown into the Shark Cage, and you could just sit there without a controller and look around. And that was the entire experience. And then, eventually the shark comes at you and you're like, this is fucking crazy. And if they found a great way to ease you into VR, I think, and one of the things that I said this time around, it would be less about easing you into VR and more about showing you just how tactile and immersive PSVR2 could be. And one of the experiences that I said they should have is you're walking down a street and then it starts to rain. It starts to drizzle. You look down. You have an umbrella. You can open up the umbrella, and now you're feeling the rain pelting in the controller on the umbrella. And I just remember thinking that what a great representation that would be of just how much more immersive PSVR2 could be. And I don't, maybe I didn't say about the umbrella. Maybe I said it about the haptics and how you might feel.
We're talking about the head, but you did mention the umbrella. You did mention the umbrella.
Was this with you? Was this not that long ago?
Oh no, it was long ago, but it was with me.
Okay.
Yeah, but you spoke about this with the umbrella, and it's such a cool idea.
Yeah, and so it's so cool that like this is not an experience. Like Switchback is a full Brush of Blood 2 game, $40 game at that. Can't wait to see if it's worth the $40. How much content's in there? But the fact that they're talking about these little subtle details and about how PSVR2 is really going to change how you experience games. I want to hear more about that right now than they talked a little bit about the whole area where you blink and the mannequins come at you. It says don't blink on the wall, and everyone's like, and eventually you're like, my eyes are getting tired, right? And then they blink and the mannequins are closer. Suddenly when they open their eyes and they blink again, the mannequins are closer, and one of them is now moving and coming at you. It's like, holy shit, like that's great, but it's the little things, man. It's like what the sense controller is going to add that to me are almost more important than what the scares will be like.
But it's also the immersion that comes with the controls being intuitive. I think one of the biggest barriers to immersion with PSVR is every time you play a game, it's a question of how have they got round the fact that you don't have joysticks on each of your hands? What is the way that they're going to be doing the movement? Is it that you point and do the move controller, the move button on the move controller? Or is it like on a keyboard, the DW, you're having to do triangle and circle that's on one side of the controller? Okay, for us PSVR veterans, we can get around it. I still think it is a barrier to the immersion. But when it comes to people that aren't that into VR and people that you want to show it to, it actually crosses off the list a lot of games that would be great for them to play. But it's Saints and Sinners is an example. Great game. I'd love a lot of people to play, but it just, and by the way, this isn't a criticism of the developers because they've had to make do with the limitations that come with the Move controller. But it's just something that there's a bit too much to think about, and just an incremental bit more to think about is a massive barrier to the immersion. So I think the fact that we're going to get controllers, even today when I was switching between Stride, 1976 back to Midway and Survive, every time you start up a game, oh look, my hands are crossed over the wrong way. Why isn't it that when you start a game you say press your left one and press your right? Obviously for the DualSense controllers, they're actually built for each hand, so that's going to get rid of that issue. But all of these things that are tiny over many years, us PSVR gamers who love it, we've been able to like look over that stuff. But PSVR2 isn't only going to be a massive leap forward for VR generally. You then add to that the fact that PSVR was so behind the times with all these small things. So all these elements are going to make the new generation of games so much more immersive in that way too.
Nick Mulo in the chat says, Switchback will produce a whole generation of people that only blink one eye at a time. I love that. That's really good. Oh, man. What? Oh, so I don't know if you guys saw, I brought up the Tentacular trailer down here because the other quote that I thought was really interesting in that Edge magazine article, what came from the Tentacular team, they said it was refreshing working with so much power. Now remember, like their first game launched, or Tentacular first launched on Quest, and so this must have been night and day for them. They said it's by far the ultimate. Nope, sorry, wrong quote. Where the hell is it? Here it is. They said after you add this stuff, referring to the PSVR2 enhancements, you realize that beforehand something was missing. We have some moments in the later game, a boss fight in a big geological event, and if you play them with the new features like the haptics and the HMD rumble, and then you play them without, it just feels like there's something missing. And I think this is a perfect. I think a lot of us went through this a while back, whether you were playing on PlayStation 1 or N64. PlayStation 1 launched with without analog sticks, without rumble in the controller, and then the DualShock came out and it was like, oh, now we have analog sticks and it vibrates. And then the N64, of course, it had the rumble pack, and if you didn't have that plugged in, you weren't getting rumble. And it seemed like a small addition at the time, or to me it did. And then I would go and use my old controller or play a game that didn't support that stuff. And then using the D-pad to move around, or using, or just games that didn't have any kind of feedback whatsoever when you were running around, or when you were, engaging in battle or whatever, it just felt so kind of empty. And so there's all of these things. It's like we've gotten used to, of course our Move controllers vibrate a little, but the added sensations in the headset rumble and everything else that we're going to get, adaptive triggers, I think, especially for VR. I think it's going to be really, really hard to go back. I think it's once you go PSVR2, you can't go Quest, right?
Yep, no, absolutely. And I'm smiling just now because my watch just bleeped. Johnny is clearly watching this on delay, and he just said, "Haha, fuck you too."
That was
so he hasn't got to this bit yet. So you can just pile on the the insults for him to get to it in half an hour.
That was the intended reaction. That's I never say fuck you to anybody unless I want them to say fuck you back.
There you go.
Nice. So okay, let's get down to brass tacks here. And I say brass tacks because I really fully understand the expression. He's in the chat. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Song in the Smoke, man. Song in the Smoke was a game that we, had come out in 2021, and shockingly, it's kind of hard to put yourself into this position, Miles, or remember what things were like in 2021 for PSVR, because you're like, oh, that was last year. Everything was great last year, right? It must have been great last year, 2021, so long ago. Not the case. So many people are still wondering what the hell was happening with PSVR2. It had been announced. Like, when the hell is it coming out? Are these games going to be playable on PSVR2? These conversations started happening way earlier than Moss Book 2, right? Way earlier than Wanderer, way earlier than Zenith. People had these questions and we didn't have answers, and we're still slowly getting answers. So when Song in the Smoke came out, there were a lot of people who were like, it looks okay, looks interesting. You said it's great, Brian, give it a 10 out of 10. Not kind of scared to buy it, because I don't know if my $30, like if I'm going to play this for 3 months and then have new hardware, because we didn't know when PSVR 2 was going to come out, and not be able to play it. So I think everybody yesterday, when it was revealed in Edge magazine that Song in the Smoke, Jake Kasdal himself, CEO of the company, and I believe creative director, announced that PSVR 2 was getting the ultimate edition of Song in the Smoke, called Song in the Smoke Rekindled. Miles, have you already played Song in the Smoke? Are you familiar with this game, or is this going to be is this in your backlog?
No, so I've played I've played the opening few hours of it, and it was getting to a point where other games were coming along, and I know it's a bit of an optimistic approach, but I just feel that this game is going to come to PSVR 2. It doesn't necessarily mean a free upgrade, and it was at a time actually where we were looking at the idea of backwards compatibility, which obviously isn't a thing. But I definitely want to play more of it, and the fact that it's coming to PSVR 2, perfect.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the fact that it got a 10 out of 10 on Without Parole didn't mean, and 10 out of 10 will never mean that it's a perfect game. It just means that it just raises the bar in one degree or another, in one way or another. And in the sense of Song in the Smoke, you guys know that we use the term VRAF all the time, and that term was created, I'm pretty sure, if we go back to the Why We Love episode by Jeremy King, we were talking about Shadow Legend, and he goes, man, Shadow Legend is VR as fuck, right? And he just does the whole Jeremy King thing where he's like super enthusiastic and he just doesn't care, throws caution to the wind and yells whatever he thinks, which is sort of what we try to do here too. But then the term just became a thing, VRAF. And I don't know, I could be wrong, like, Saints and Sinners obviously was VRAF, but I don't know if anything had quite reached that level again until we got Song in the Smoke. Song in the Smoke to me it really did set a new high watermark when it came to VR interactions. It was like, oh, how do you make an arrow? Right? And it's like, oh, I got to go pick up this branch, and I got to break it in half to get a smaller stick. Now I have a smaller stick. Now I got to take my arrowhead and literally with my hands carve it, and then make it kind of like this smoothed out stick. Okay, now I have to go, pick up a rock and bash it with another rock in order to make the arrowhead, and then stick the arrowhead on the front. And then I got to go kill this bird over here, like this dinosaur bird, and then take one of its feathers and shove it at the end. And now I have an arrow. And it's like, and so many other games would have just said, just click around the menu. Just drag this over here, drag that over here, and then boom, 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 and you have an arrow. And now do that 30 times over. In the middle of battle, when there's a beast coming at you, and you're running away from it, it's not as simple as opening a menu and going boom, 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 boom. You are running with a stick in your hand, and you're like. Like trying to carve it, like I'm all out of arrows, man. I'm all out of arrows, and this thing is like right on my biting at my heels. It adds to the intensity that you have to do these things physically. And my memories of Song in the Smoke are me being there, trying to survive and carve weapons as quickly as possible. And it's just it added to the intensity. It was so amazing, and so this game, I think, really epitomizes the phrase VRAF. Despite the fact that there's some things about it that are not VRAF at all. And I want to get to that in just a second.
Just quickly on that, it's to the extreme of what you see with a lot of these zombie games, like even Survive, where it's annoying that you have to actually cock the gun and then eject the mag and put it in, because when you're in battle, when you're being attacked, it's like, oh, now I've got to quickly eject this, I've run out of bullets, now I've got to put that in. This takes it to the whole next level of in battle, you have to craft everything that you wish to use to your advantage, instead of just pressing, with your gun in a zombie game, square to reload, which is easy. And, people go, oh, it's a bit more comforting. No, the thing about VR is an immersion is making it that you have to be hands-on, you have to craft, you have to manipulate your environment to give yourself the advantage with whatever challenge you're facing.
Agreed. Dude, everyone's made me so paranoid about missing tips that I'm like they are. It's
That's good.
When one rolls in, I'm super distracted. I'm like, I want to make sure that I get it on.
Good tip, everyone. End of the year. Tip train. All that stuff.
So the article in Edge magazine was really reassuring because I had talked to Jake just a couple months ago and been like, hey, what, all these developers are starting to talk about their PSVR2 plans. What are your plans? And he goes, I can't tell you yet. He goes, but when we do have something to announce, you'll be amongst the first to know. And so when the Edge magazine article came out and they said, okay, it's Song in the Smoke. It seems like it's being called Song in the Smoke Rekindled, and it's going to be a PSVR2 launch title. I was like, holy shit! I was not in the loop on this one, which is okay because guess what? All I care about is that this game is coming.
Yep.
And so Jake actually had a couple of great quotes. The first one was in Edge magazine itself. He said, it wasn't a light upgrade. It was a ton of work and upresing of so many visual systems. It stands alone even compared to the highest end version possible on PC VR. It's honestly not even close. These are the statements from developers. You can be anybody in the world. You can be us. You can be other VR journalists. You can be whoever you want to. But when it comes down to actual developers talking about how easy PSVR2 makes it to reach these new heights of graphical standards, those are the people I want to hear from. Those are the people whose opinion I trust. These people, working with all the different VR headsets and, of course, making high-end PC versions and saying the PS5 version, the PSVR2 version blows it away. Like when he's saying it's not even close. This is what we're hearing all over the place. We expect this from Saints and Sinners Chapter 2, that Retribution will look better than the highest end PC VR version. And so when people are like, oh, PlayStation 5 is not that powerful compared to high-end PCs, there's an understanding here about how PS5 was built with VR in mind that some people just aren't getting, right? And I don't think even I understand that fully. I've been told that I don't understand that fully, that no one will understand that fully, and we won't see the true potential of PSVR 2 easily till 2024. Like that'll be when we start seeing things that are really pushing the limits of the PlayStation 5 and the headset. So this is very, very exciting, man.
It really is. And to reiterate something that, I've mentioned again and again, week on week, there is a game of tennis being played now with hardware between the PS5, which, you were talking about in terms of PSVR 2, it's the same with the PS5 as well, that, developers are still, getting to grips with this tech and, squeezing the hardware for as much power in their gaming as possible. You have that happening, and you've got this super powerful PSVR 2 headset. And there are some people that have complained about the pricing. The pricing is expensive. It's more expensive than the console, which kind of shows you how serious that this game is. This game in town of PSVR 2, that you're going to have such a high-end headset that is working in tandem with a PS5, and the VR experiences are going to allow developers to achieve things, not just in terms of fidelity and the visuals, but in terms of the game mechanics and how it works with other sensations as well. And the quotes that you've given from this article alone, and especially because developers are now starting to be able to talk about stuff. Mm-hmm. It won't come close to when we actually experience it for real. But dude, this is... I was already super, super excited. I'm way more excited now.
Yeah. So I kind of gave you that backstory with GCASF for a reason. I didn't just say it so I could tell you, hey, I'm butthurt that I wasn't let in on the information ahead of time. It's fine, right? The reason I told you the story is because I reached out to him immediately after seeing the Edge magazine article and was like, dude, this is great news. Like, I'm so excited. Not only are we getting this amazing version of it, but it's going to be a launch title. Amazing. And so I was like, give me a quote. Like, I need something for for a breaking news report. And he said, and this is the quote he said. He says, "It was so refreshing." This is the quote that I tried to read earlier for the Tentacular developer. He said, "It was so refreshing working with so much power. It's by far the ultimate edition of the game with new features." This is the important part, driven by user feedback, making this version just insanely fun. Okay. What kind of user feedback was Jake Kasdal and the team at 17-Bit getting? That is the big question, right? Because there's obviously there's like a difficulty thing where a lot of people, I've seen a lot of comments saying people like, oh, it's just too grindy and it's just too much work to get into and blah, 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 the whole thing. And I think depending on what difficulty you're playing on, that might be true. It seemed like they were constantly tinkering with the difficulty after launch. So I haven't even really experienced what the final launch or what the final difficulty was post-launch, because they patched it quite a few times and I didn't start a new game to check it out. So I'm very interested in going back and seeing that. But for all of the VRAF love that we gave this game, talking about crafting and the movements and building things and making campfires and whatever, the way that you jumped off of a ledge and the way that you climbed things was by pointing your controller at it and basically teleporting. And you'd see like two little handprints on something that says, yes, you can climb this. And you would sort of teleport over there. I can only imagine that there was a huge outpouring. People asking, say, listen, we love this game, but let us jump and climb with our hands. Make it even more VRAF, right? Saints and Sinners does it. Blood and Truth does it. Allows you to like just do everything. Right. And so I don't know how much of a rework that would have to be. But Mark Smith in the chat said it would be nice if you can use your hands and climb this time. Like that, the first thing that popped up, the first thing that when I said there's listening to user feedback, Mark Smith goes, "This is what I want." You can only imagine this is what everybody said. Do you think that's possible, Myles? Do you think we're going to it'll become even more VRAF?
That would be amazing. I know one of the bigger criticisms you had with your initial review was the fact that it doesn't explain some things enough, and other things it over explains other things. Yeah. I'm sure with player testing and getting feedback, they will streamline that. That's often what you see when new versions are made. Is the user experience and the journey and getting a sense of, now we've had all these people play it and watching live streams of people playing it. That's a really great way of getting a sense of, okay, so the most important part of a game is the intro. You don't want you don't want tutorials to be too lengthy. You want there to be a natural flow and things to feel intuitive, with people getting to grips with the game mechanics and things like that. So I'm sure that bit will have a lot of improvements as well. Super exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, a little extra tutorial bits here and there would be nice. I know that it was crazy because AJ and I were playing this probably a week before it came out, and so we only really had each other to be like, do you have any idea how to do this? And so like you would be bleeding out, right? And so what you have to do is like you have to get these particular berries and like get your little bowl and mash them up and make this this potion, right? And it was a health potion, but like normally you drink it to restore your health. But if you're bleeding out, we're like, well, this doesn't seem to be doing anything. And so the number one question people started asking the second the game came out was, how do you stop yourself from bleeding out? And you actually have to take it and like pour it on the wound on your hand, like, and it's like, that's a great answer. But there was nothing in the game that said, here's how you do it. And maybe they added that post-launch. I have no idea. But again, this is all the kinds of player feedback that people would be asking for. I'm just so excited because this is one of my favorite games on PSVR1. So excited to have this, again, not just at the launch of PSVR2, but also just seemingly extremely enhanced. Rypop's got a viewer takeover question. Guys, if you don't know how to leave viewer takeover questions, you can go over to our Discord. Remember, click the link in the description below and join us over there. And there's a viewer takeover channel where you can leave questions. This has been asked many times before, but I do think it's pertinent, especially since we just talked about Song in the Smoke, that there's going to be a PSVR2 version at launch. Alchemy Labs this week just talked about how Job Simulator and Vacation Simulator are coming to PSVR2. They said early 2023, so we don't know if that'll be launch or just a little bit later. But neither of these studios have talked about their upgrade path, their plans to whether they're going to charge people for an upgrade or they're just going to give it to people who already bought it on PSVR1. So still some questions in terms of that. But so Rypop addresses this with a viewer takeover question saying, seeing how more PSVR games are now getting announced with upgrades for the PSVR2, what would you be willing to pay for an upgrade fee, or should they be free? What do you think, Myles?
Oh, man. I mean, I think it is going to come down to personal preference on the game. Ideally, you do want those free upgrades so you can invest all your money into the brand new titles. But like games like No Man's Sky still blows my mind that game, you know, you can get now for $20, $30 with all the upgrades that have come over the years, and it will be getting a free PSVR2 update. That is a game I would happily buy over again to experience it. But, you know, I'm happy for them to give it to me for free. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of what I'd be willing to pay for an upgrade, if it was a game I really wanted, if it was like $10, $20, I think it has to be about, you know, no more than 50% of what the full game price is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, there are so many games that I would just happily let slide. You know, even if they were like, oh, it's going to be $5, it's going to be $10. Doesn't mean those games are not worthy of a $5 or $10 upgrade fee. It just means that I've already played the crap out of these games, and there's so many PSVR2 games coming out that your old PSVR1 game with a few upgrades is just going to get lost in the shuffle.
That's exactly it, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've got such over 20 new games, you know. That's a lot anyway. So the battle of priorities. And I think at the moment we're looking through the lens of what 2022 has been about, and we're going to obviously talk about that a bit later on the show. But it's the idea that it has been quite dry this year. It's going to be completely different next year. And so I think when it comes to that, the idea of paying for upgrades would be even more unappetizing because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Would you mind if we take a minute here and get caught up on some tips? I know that we're getting really far behind. And
keep tipping, and hit the like button.
It's gonna be the longest show ever. Shen Miaozo out there with the 5 quid says, please, any developer out there friendly to the channel, loan your PSVR2 to Bryan for a couple weeks before launch so he can prep for us. Doing my best, you guys. I'm doing my best, trying to. I am trying to procure one ahead of time. I obviously pre-ordered my headset, but what's stressing me out is that I can't. There's no way in hell I can get this thing at launch and actually be able to do my job. You know, my job is to play these games thoroughly and review them and you know, make some lists and let you guys know what you need to buy and like the essential launch games, all that stuff. I've got about 30 videos in my head that I need to make until I have the headset itself and in some of these games. It's going to be really impossible to do so. So I hope someone out there is fighting for me at Sony, because really would love to be able to have proper coverage the way that I want to. Otherwise, I'll be playing catch up for the better part of the year. Katie Foley with 5 quid says, yes, her birthday's on release day, this February 22nd. Thanks for the confirmation. Also hope it arrives then too. Book the week off just in case. Call of the Mountain will be the first game I play. I think I'm with you. I just want to see how that game is designed to be, like, you know, the most beautiful thing that you've ever seen in VR. So yeah, I kind of want to experience that myself too. Be the first thing and then everything else will pale by comparison. And 2023 will be a disappointing year because I played Call of the Mountain first. Everything will suck by comparison. We got Josh Cat with the $5 tip says, feeling rain on your hands, back to the Switchback conversation, is all well and good, but do you think we will ever feel simulated pain from haptics? That's a really good question. Like, feeling pain and feeling impact from like a shot fired are two very different things. I don't know if I want to feel pain in VR, Myles. There's enough pain in the world. I don't need to introduce pain into my gaming.
It's an interesting question, because the way I best describe it is, I think it's like, you know, in dreams where you feel the impact. You're like, oh, that hurt, but it didn't really hurt. You just felt it and associated it with the action.
Yeah.
I think that's like kind of what it's going to be like in VR, is you will feel the impact of maybe being shot or whatever's going on, or hitting something hard. There'll be you'll fit that there will be a sense of jeopardy and like cost to your actions in the context of where you are, which I think will be the most immersive and impactful, no pun intended, that it's ever been. So I do think we are moving in that direction, but not actual pain, but there will be a feeling of, ow, shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I feel pain all the time. And like, even when I hit my foot on something, or if I'm walking past something and something grazes my hand, I instinctually just say, ow. Do you do this too? Like, I go, ow. And not that it didn't hurt. It's just, I say ow as a reaction to, like,
yeah.
I'm like, I don't need things to actually hurt in order for me to be. That's
exactly it.
Yeah, very strange. Man, Bear, Pig, Gamecat, with a $2 tip says, will we get a new aim controller or accessories for PSVR 2? Man, this is probably the other biggest question we get all the time, is whether we'll get an aim controller.
That was actually going to be a potential prediction for 2023.
Oh, yeah?
I actually think, but I didn't put it on my list. We went with sort of a few each, but I could actually see towards the Christmas time them releasing one. I mean, how long after PSVR launched did the aim controller come out? It'd been a couple of years, I'm guessing. But then VR was completely new.
I want to say
this time
it might have been 2017. It might have only been a year. I forget how long it took for Farpoint to come out, because that's where. Here, let me see Farpoint.
Whereas this time it's a known thing, and I think there's a lot of gamers that are going, what? I mean, I don't know. The sense I get is I saw a lot of VR gamers, and especially those that are not like geeky on the VR industry, but just love playing Firewall and that.
Yeah.
Always heard the conversation in the lobbies of like, the aim controller is one of the best peripherals for VR, because you could always get, the created sort of like framework for your weapons, but they were never built great. They always had issues, whereas the aim controller did the job. And I think it has created an expectation now where people are like, oh, I'm actually going to miss that. If there was one release of PSVR 2, I would buy it like day one. There's no question about it.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah, absolutely. Like it gave us a different experience in VR, and like to the point where PC gamers were like, this is really cool, and they were trying to recreate it by like, creating PVC piping or finding ways to mount their controllers to something. But when we had games that were actually designed for it, it was just an amazing experience, especially with Farpoint. You could change your weapon just by lifting it up, to your shoulders, like there you go. Like, so the games had this controller in mind, and were developed for Farpoint and Firewall, obviously being two of the biggest ones. It just gave us such an interesting edge over PC VR. It's like not necessary anymore, but I agree with you. I would buy it like without question, because it was obviously an awesome way to play a lot of first person shooters. We have so many more tips to get through. We're actually getting further away from the end of the tips. So we're going to hit up Gametic Blasphemy. My eyes are working again. But the $5 tip says that cinching knob will prevent any possibility of comfort when sitting/leaning back. For example, a gaming chair. Don't know why they ditched the embedded dial. That cinching knob is. This is the. I'm assuming he's talking about the tightening dial. That. Oh, okay. Now I'm getting it. So there's the little thing that sticks out of the PSVR2 headset to tighten it, right? And I'm sure you push the button to release it. It actually sticks out of the back of the headset now, rather than being flush with the back of the headset.
Yeah, you're right. It is down that middle bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. I wonder. This is obviously something I've never thought of before. But like, I'm wondering if you lean back in a chair, I don't know. I can't imagine it would be that much different. I mean, you still have this band around your head, so your head's not going all the way back to the chair, and you just have like a little knob that's sticking out a little bit further. You look like you're doing something devious over there, Myles. What are you doing?
Nah, not at all. Devious. Me being devious.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on you.
Keeping an eye.
Those Brits.
Because you're practicing the blinking one eye at a time.
Those Brits can never be trusted. Touch the Clouds, Gamecat with the Australian $15 tip says, thanks for all the laughs this year, boys, and Gamecats from Down Under. BP and Munjay and West Day and Two Wise Friday. Love you guys. Thank you, Touch the Clouds. A lot of love out here. Owando Cat, Kirdando Cat with the €20 says, I'm looking forward to the chats we're going to have after this coming CES. I think that's where we're going to get the final info on Sony's strategy for the coming year, at least. Get hyped. I mean, it has to be, right? Even if it's not everything, you can imagine that they're going to time some blog posts to go live alongside CES. They're going to say, like for the, at CES, they'll probably say for the full list of launch titles, head on over to the PlayStation blog. And so I think we're going to get a lot of announcements at CES, and a lot of developers are going to be at CES. We already know that Arvory is going to be there, so who knows what's going on there. And so I just think this is when the floodgates will finally break. They've got to break, man. Like that'll be like just over like 40 days from launch. Yeah. Karina with the 10 quid says, a token of my appreciation to this wonderful community. Also a shout out to Guyson, who never fails to make me feel welcome.
Aw.
Shout out to Guyson,
this love.
The silent assassin. Stike the Gamer, the VRAF Gamecat. That's about as without parole as fuck as we can get around here. With €100. Dude, thank you so much for your generosity. It's absolutely insane.
I wish I could play a trumpet. A little celebration.
Yeah,
exactly.
That was just... I didn't even go... doo-doo-doo-doo. Nothing. It was just my voice going... doo-doo-doo-doo.
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
It says...
Amazing.
Dear Bryan, Myles, Wes, AJ, and all the Without Parole staff, and Helping Pause. I love it. Helping Pause. I wish all of you and the whole GameCat community a happy new year. This is it. We did it. The low-tech era of PSVR is ending, and we are all in for a heckin' wild ride. See you next year. We did it. We really did. Like, I mean, again, I don't want to pat ourselves on the back too much, Myles, but we had a rough year to get through. And when I say a rough year, I mean about 800 days. The last 800 days have been pretty rough.
Yeah.
And that's not an exaggeration. So thank you, everybody, for sticking with us and believing in the channel and just really making this the best community that I've ever seen online. Online scares me, man. Online scares me. It's a lot of negativity, but this is just this is an anomaly out there. So thank you all very, very much for being part of it and creating it. God, you guys created all this around me. Myles Dyer. Hey, Myles. You devious motherfucker. With the 5 quid, it says pair character lifting some weights saying keep it up. I'm glad you are animating this for us.
Yep.
Okay. We need actual
Cute
weights.
little pair, like it.
Yep.
Nice little pair, dude, there.
Yep. And
keep it up, Bryan.
I'm trying to, man. The tornado, unfortunately, is making today. Thank you very much. All right. Bearded Power 666 says get your tips out for the lads. I feel like we're in church and they're passing the basket around right now, and everyone's like, "Oh, I wasn't gonna, but here, this is all I've got in my pocket." So thank you guys so much. The basket was passed and everybody contributed. Holy shit, dude! Oh my god, I'm still trying to copy and paste these things to keep up with it. PSVR Underground. AJ's in the chat with the $10 tip, says in all capital letters, buy Song in the Smoke on PSVR2 and support AAA quality indie games. Also, it's awesome. Owando Kirnando. Wow, this really lets me say a lot of stuff. Jeez, like for real. AJ.
It does if you pay $10. You get all that space and caps.
Thank you, AJ. Much appreciated. I agree about Song and Smoke and Owando Kirnando.
I don't know if you actually read the 2 tips above that.
Dude, I don't know, man. Please.
You said awesome Tatum. I don't know if you actually read the tip. He just said for Bryan's Bills and Miles' A game today. And actually, I do appreciate that because I said last week, the last few weeks, I've been really low energy and stuff. I'm feeling like back on it. I think it's because I had some Coke with me, as in the drink, not the Christmas stuff, the Christmas powder stuff.
Thank you, Tatum.
Yeah.
Is that the only one I missed above that?
And then there was Beard of Power 666 that said, "Get your tips out for the lads with the £5."
Excellent.
Well done.
Okay, we're getting all caught up, man. We're getting all caught up.
Flame Hat, the game cat with what does an SEK stand for?
Sekiro.
27 of them, and I love the caption. This is a tip. Amazing.
If this is a tip, I'm losing my shit. Would it kill you to care as much as I did?
Drink07 with the $5 tip. Games like Beat Saber should be a free upgrade because of all the money invested in music packs. But it's not always about revenue. I will talk a bit about this later with predictions, because there is a real chance that Beat Saber stays as a PSVR and Oculus Quest or Meta Quest exclusive. I don't think so, but we'll see.
Keep it coming, man. Keep it coming. You're doing a great job.
88199 with the €11 tip says, "Great channel. Thanks for all the info this year. I hope the PSVR2 can live up to the extremely high expectations." That's a really good point. There are a lot of high expectations, but the thing I would say is I feel we're also so sick of waiting and the secrecy of Sony that it's kind of exhausted us.
Yeah.
Like, when we get it, I'm just going to be relieved. Like, it's finally here. And that's kind of how I felt like when the PS5 came out. When I plugged it in, of course I loved it. I loved playing the games, but it was more of a sense of relief. Also with the fact that there was a lot of stress around getting the pre-orders. And if you haven't already and you want to pre-order it, pre-orders are now available to everyone. So get onto Sony Direct and get your pre-orders in. Next up, F Nord Sayakis with the $4.20. I am not part of a sleeper cell. There we go. I'm not part of a sleeper cell.
A sleeper cell's the one who the soldiers who, like, you know, are going about their everyday life. This is like Manchurian Candidate type stuff, right? Where it's like, yes. And then like then they're like awakened, and then they're like, you know, they have to go about their mission, and like they're almost like brainwashed, right? Is that what a sleeper cell is? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I believe that's my understanding of it as well.
Because I got an email today, Myles, from Ned, and and it said in the subject line just read, "Hey." I was like, okay, and so I opened it. I don't know why, but it said, "Hey L, I hope you and Chuck are having a great holiday. All is well here. Stay warm. Love, Ned." Now, I read this out loud while I was in voice chat, and I was like, oh my god, what if this is like a sleeper cell message, right? Like, these combination of words when said out loud will awaken me, like, and I'm gonna go like try to do something awful, so it's funny that this conversation came up separate from that. Also, if you happen to be L, then Ned sends his love to you and Chuck. I have no idea. What's going on. Yeah. Who's next up on the tip train?
I love this of the tips. Basically, the more you tip, guys, the longer this show goes on for. I don't know if that's going to now encourage more tips or make people retract their tips.
Right.
Like, I want a refund. B Tribble with the $5 tip says, I don't actually know what it describes it on your screen, Brian, but it's just like a lady with pink hair saying, "You're number one. You're number one."
Yeah, on mine it says character holding their head in their hands, saying, "Oh, okay, got it. You're number one.
You're number one."
Yep, nice.
That wasn't like a Predator impression, kind of thing. Virgelsoft with the £10 tip says, "Not glue yet in the 3:30 at Ascot. I'm doing this tip thing right." Ascot being where Ascot is where the horses race, and then if they like break their legs on one of the jumps, they just put a curtain around them and shoot them in the head with a shotgun.
What?
Which is a VR game I would play.
This is a real thing. Like, you just described something that happens in real life.
Yeah, I personally think people that support horse racing, it's immoral. Like, these horses get put through so much strain. They jump over like the hedges, and you know they race so fast. They're constantly getting hit by these really tiny people called jockeys. And if they ever screw up, and literally if they hit one of the jumps wrong and their legs get caught and they fall over the other side,
just kill them on the spot.
They put a curtain around them and
then drag them home, give them some tea. Said, "We love you so much."
Mess up. They go, no. I mean, I'm sure there are some circumstances where they go, they've just broken a hoof. Would do that, but yeah, they just like.
Do you know how little? Do you know how little of this tip I would have understood, Myles, if you weren't the one reading it? I didn't understand any of this. I don't know. I didn't know what an ascot was. I didn't know not glue yet. I mean, this is. I would have just been like, I think you're in the wrong place, Sparklesoft.
P Dribble said, yeah, the curtain tent at the racetrack is always sad. So it is true. I haven't made that up. I didn't know if it was a dream I had.
Wow.
But yeah, that would be kind of a cool VR game.
Yoshi Rabbit Pratchety. Yoshi Rabbit Pratchety with the 4.5 quid says, new to VR with PSVR2. Thanks for all the info. Excellent. This is exciting, right? It's like I'm so happy that we've had such a loyal community and that they've stuck around for so long and hung out with PSVR 1, even if a lot of them have gone on and like branched out to Quest 2 and PSVR. A lot of them seem like they're still happy to be around here and hang out and see what's going on and come back and be excited about PSVR 2. But there's also this whole new group of people, including Yoshi Rabbit Pratchety, who are new to VR completely and are just patiently waiting for February to dive in for the very first time. And I think that's really, really exciting. Like, I don't know, man. There's a part of me, when backwards compatibility was first talked about, and we've got these kind of like blurry games with like rough controls. I don't know if I would want people like Yoshi going back and playing those games. Not really. Like, these PSVR 2 upgrades are such a blessing in disguise, right? Whether it costs a few extra dollars, whatever the deal might be, getting to play these games in such a better way, I think is just a way better move than just having some sort of backwards compatibility that just like gives us a rough experience with our old games.
Agreed. Because we're very in tuned with what's going on. People are going to be watching videos, if that did happen, of you saying, right, these are the ones that have been done good, these are the ones that haven't.
Right.
We don't want that. People that are casual gamers, we want to make sure that when they're on the PSVR 2 store, although, to be honest, we don't even know how good that's going to be laid out. Because at the moment, I do like that they've now removed the VR required and VR compatible. Because then you might play the Tekken game, which we all know is a brilliant VR game. But now it just says PSVR and PSVR 2. I wonder what they're going to do with that, because there will be people, I'm sure, that have PSVR 2 and then are looking on the store. Is it going to say these games will not play on what setup you've got? That'll be something interesting to see, because we might find it where people... I mean, look, when the Xbox Series S and the X came out, there was a lot of stories about people that were buying the S, not realizing, or buying the Xbox One, not realizing it's the old console because of the naming conventions.
Yeah, that's right. When the Series S and X launched on Amazon, we saw the sales spike for Xbox One. Because
it was available. They were readily available. That was it. You're going for the one. You're panicking if you're buying for your grandchild,
right.
And they've been going on about this console. Totally understandable how this stuff happens. Obviously, it's not going to be to that extreme when it comes to buying PlayStation VR games on the store, but especially for a platform where physical copies isn't really that common, Sony has a responsibility to make that clear, and it'll be interesting to see how they do that. Brandon Casey with the $5 tip. I don't have a lot right now, but I've been listening via Spotify for a while and look forward to joining the Discord and best community for PSVR 2.
Spotify! They're out there.
Brandon. Yeah. Love you, Brandon, for that. And look, we always say, if you don't have money, your time, spending time with us, liking the video, sharing it, or just, getting involved in the conversation on Discord, it means a lot. But the fact that you've donated $5, it means a lot to us. It helps keep keeps the show on the road. Right. So thank you for that, Brandon.
And really, just like honestly, even I don't want to like negate anything that Myles said, because Myles is like the click, like, subscribe, share guy, right? But for years, Myles, I was like the biggest Podcast Beyond fan. I was the biggest Kind of Funny fan, right? When Colin and Greg broke off from IGN and did their own thing, I was the biggest fan. I never clicked like, I never commented, I never did.
You're a sleeper agent.
I never did anything. Yeah. And I consider myself one of their biggest fans, because it was the biggest part of my life. For when I was super depressed, it saved my life. And they'll never know like what that means. And so I know that there's people out there who are, hopefully big fans of the channel, who don't say anything. That's why we always thank you guys at the end of the show, because I know what it's like to be one of those people and just be like, I don't need to engage. I just want to be here for this. And I totally respect that, because I was one of those people for the better part of a decade. So I get it, man. I get it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of shows I watch where I don't comment and stuff on it. Like, that's just it. Like, there are so many people out there who are exactly that. So yeah, people can help in all sorts of ways. Just watching the show is a huge part of it. So yeah. Thank you, Brandon.
Whoa.
Yeah, really appreciate that.
Twitcher, the single player Gamecat, with the 5 quid, says protruding knobs, tips out, and nipple clamps. This is my kind of GamesCast. Love you all, and happy birthday. Love it, man. Thank you so much for being here all the time. Are we just going back and forth on these tips?
Yeah, I like this now. Awesome Tatum I love it, because we're also looking at the chat at this point and like old conversations. Awesome Tatum going, Myles Dyer coming in with the save. Nice. I don't know what. I never come in with a save.
It was probably about ascots.
Oh, maybe it was. Yeah. Ben Dawson with the £5 tip says, thanks for sticking with PSVR through the dry years when it would have been easy to jump ship. Yeah. The OG PSVR was awesome, but here's to 23rd of Feb.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, Ben. And funny enough, actually, this week I was watching the end of year episode of, I think it was Digital Foundry Direct, where they were just talking about the year. And they actually spoke quite openly that this year had been a very difficult year for them, because there wasn't a lot of games being released. And yet it was still a great opportunity for growth, because there's still a lot of hunger out there. And they know that next year, because forget VR gaming, just for this sentence, very, very important, of course, but flat screen gaming is going to be a huge year next year. There is so many big games coming out on flat screen. So that, and then, PSVR and everything happening there. I mean, you look at Sony have announced their sort of timeline of what's coming out next year, and it's, you've got all these games. And like, one of the things is PSVR2. It's like, that is a very big moment, because that comes with a whole satellite, a whole ecosystem of games. So it has been a dry year, but the community and the excitement we have, as exhausting as it can get, is there. So thank you for everyone who's jumped on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shades.
Yeah, we'll keep it moving. Shades of Grey, we're almost caught up, kind of, almost, not really. Shades of Grey Matter with a Canadian $10 tip says, thank you guys for all that you do, and this community for being awesome. Hoping this channel gets huge in the new year, like it deserves. Happy New Year's. Thank you. Everybody out there who's been saying, oh man, your channel's going to explode when PSVR2 gets here. I'm like, all right. Like, I have no intention or no desire to be the biggest PSVR2 channel out there. I'm sure that people like Nathy and Wolfen VR, who already have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, will continue to be above and beyond the most popular channels out there. That is not even a desire that I have. What I want is for this community to keep growing, and for us to all be around and support each other and be there, and for me to be able to, this is allowing me to like do the thing that I love to do, which is, I don't say it enough, this is a dream come true. When I was watching Podcast Beyond, when I was watching Kind of Funny, I was like, man, how do I do this for a living? And I wrote so many reviews and op-eds and everything that I wanted to have published on IGN, and I submitted resumes, and this was sort of like what I always wanted to do. And I was like, it was always a pipe dream. I was like, what are the possibilities? There's millions of people who want this type of job, and so being able to just do it is good enough for me. Like, I don't want I don't want anybody to think we're in any competition with other VR channels out there. We're fucking not, man. We've got this we are doing this great thing over here all on our own. We don't need to compete. Right? We don't need to be the biggest, but I do think we're the best already, because of the community and because of what we're doing, and that is 100% because of you guys. So please remember that. I never want. There was a conversation on Discord today. Somebody thought that me and Polish Paul like really hate each other or something like that. We don't, man. We love each other. Like, we don't talk all that much these days, but like we're gonna poke fun at each other till the end of time. But there's no animosity out there. That's just not how I operate. But thank you guys. I appreciate anytime anyone says something like that, like, oh, you guys are gonna blow up, and I'm like, yeah, that would be nice. But that's not my goal. That's not where my passion lies. We're gonna be the biggest. I don't care. as long as you guys are all here and we get to keep doing this, that's what I care about.
But I think that is why you will succeed. And 100,000 subscribers is just around the corner, Brian. But also, there's a lot of plans, obviously, for when PSVR2 comes out. I'm definitely recalibrating at the moment what I'm doing with my own channel and actually having a content strategy for my social media. So I want to be able to sort of feed into this ecosystem and help build the channel from my side. And it's, a lot of this stuff takes a while. Like for me, in many ways, I'm still settling in. Like I feel settled, I feel supported, being a co-host on the show. And there are jokes from time to time in the chat. I know some people go, "Has Myles ever finished a VR game?"
No.
And it's like,
oh, sorry.
There are many platinum trophies. But the thing I will say is I've always been honest that, I didn't get PSVR when it first came out. I was a fan of this channel. I have been playing catch up, and I'm getting there. But when PSVR 2 comes out, I'm going to be like I am now, playing games as they come out. And it's going to be nice to be entering a generation where I'm there from the start. And, PS5, the console, was the first console I ever got at launch. PSVR is going to be 2 is going to be the first sort of headset peripheral that I've got at launch. So this is definitely a new era for me as well, and I'm just really, really excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, man. We're definitely happy to have you here too. Like this is, you were telling me before the show. I think your first appearance on the channel as a regular co-host was what, April 1st?
Yeah.
So we're coming up on quite a milestone, man. Like a milestone, as it is.
A milestone. T-wise milestone.
Yeah. And so, yeah. I know. I wasn't even settled in on Without Parole for the first couple of years. Like it takes a while to kind of follow.
There's different levels of settling in, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's been adequate at doing the job in terms of can you turn your camera on and be present at those times every week.
Yeah.
But then there is learning the dynamics between us, and then there's also learning the dynamics of the industry. Like it's been a very disruptive year, so all of those things. Next tip, we just had Shades of Grey Matter, right? So
yep, Man Bear Pig
Gamecat.
Nice.
Did we do this one?
No, this is the next one.
Did we do this one? Oh, cool. $1.99. This community is Gamecat as fuck, Brian. PSVR pioneer.
Look at that, Gamecat as fuck. And he spelled it ASF, as we just talked about on a recent episode. Look at you. Like that. Yeah. That's a true fan right there. X Pacer X with a $20 tip says, "Happy last cast. Gone by too fast, but I'm having a blast." That rhymed a lot.
I love it.
That was really good. Happy last cast. Gone by too fast, but I'm having a blast. Serial Killer, the Holiday Taint. Gamecat. I just had to double check because my eyes are funky today. I was like, did he really write Holiday Taint? With the $2 says, "Squid, lemon, 8, egg, potato, echo, raspberry." Next tip, Myles. Next tip.
Flame Hat, the Gamecat. With 27 Sekiros. Enough already. Alvo.
Did Steve just appear? That's how it works. If you say Alvo enough times, Steve from the Martinfold team just fucking shows up.
Is Alvo confirmed as a upgrade?
It's confirmed as a PSVR2 title. That is one of the games that's like, well, we don't know if there's going to be an upgrade charge. We don't know exactly how that's all going to work. So we are patiently awaiting that information. That's a Swordsman is another one, waiting to hear on that. And so there's a lot of developers out there who have been like, yeah, PSVR2 is coming. That's all the information we got. We haven't seen videos. We haven't seen it. Yeah.
I don't blame them because it's like you've got months. Announce it in February, and then when people are talking about it and when you're tweeting about it saying, oh, this game is now going to be, it's just as people are getting ready to play. So yeah, I think it's smart. I think it's smart, as annoying as it may be for some of us.
We're up to Wolfie Smith, the Game Cub. Did I get that right? With the $5. Says, "I can't stop, unfortunately, but I can't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, unfortunately, but Happy New Year to all the Game Cats."
Not here, but when you see it on replay, appreciate it. It's go.
Is Rhodey the next one?
Yeah, Rhodey the Gamecat with $10. Super chat stopped working for me. Well, if this goes through, Happy New Year, cats. It did indeed. This isn't going to be the mainstream push for VR, but we early adopters are going to get blown away.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've sort of just kind of we've taken comfort in the fact that this might not be the next big, VR push. Like the launch might not be super impactful as far as like the bigger mainstream gaming world is concerned. But I think that's like sort of just something we've taken comfort in saying. I don't know if it's
Yes.
actually true. Like we don't know what Sony has planned for the next month and a half. Like
Exactly.
this could be bigger than we expect it to be, but it's a nice safe statement to say, we're the early adopters. And so we'll see how it actually turns out, but I think Rhodey might be right. He might be right.
This feels like such an intentional launch, and of course, any product that they invest in is intentional. You know, they didn't just do the PSVR on a whim. There was a lot of intention behind it. But the fact that the slot on the front of the PS5 is made to plug your PSVR2 in, the fact it's got a lot of continuity with the DualSense controllers. There's an intention behind this headset, unlike anything we've seen before from Sony, and that alone makes this super, super exciting. Salvador with a $10 tip. Yo, the best. Pour out some glue for the horses. Okay, we're going to the poor horses.
Man, this is getting dark. Old Darth with the Canadian. Thank you, and guys, really, thank you, everybody. We're blasting through some of these, but I really want to say thank you for all the generosity. This just can't be a 3-hour episode. Old Darth with the Canadian $5 tip says, thanks, Brian, AJ, Wes, and Myles for keeping the PSVR torch lit. Great convos this year, and will only be more excellent in 2023. Hybrid gaming for the win.
For the win.
So true.
Love it, love it, love it.
Yep.
And Brian,
yeah,
we've just caught up. Unless anyone else is going to do one in. Yeah.
Let me catch my breath. Jesus, just crossed the line. This is awesome.
Amazing, everyone.
Yeah, really amazing. Thank you all so much for your generosity, and again, keeping the lights on, keeping the channel running, allowing me to purchase a PSVR2 without me, hitting my credit card limit. You're all the best. Myles, so I don't know if you saw the thumbnail to this video, the one that we're doing right now, the one that we're making.
Oh yeah, it's your tips for 2 hours. I think it said.
Yeah, we're gonna have to change the thumbnail to just a fucking pile of money.
Just Brian like Scrooge McDuck diving into the bank. That'd be a great VR experience. That'd be great. DuckTales VR game. There we go.
Dun, 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 dun.
Love that. Sure.
Myles, we just said that you've been here since April 1st. It was a New Year's joke that we just never let you in on. Did I say New Year's joke? April Fool's joke that we just never let you in on.
Yeah. And I'm still here.
And you're still here. And so, dude, I think I think it'd be good to kind of talk about the year a little bit. What were the highlights and the lowlights? What's been going on since you joined the channel?
For sure, man. So in terms of highlights of the year, I don't know if we want to alternate between these or I could just list them off. I mean, I could probably go through these pretty quickly and then we can discuss them as much or as little as you want. It was a difficult one because normally when you talk about highlights, it's like, what are the top 3 VR games of the year? Mm-hmm. And I really don't feel that way. Like, I really don't feel there was much competition in terms of what were the 3 ones at the very top. But there was one VR game that definitely captured my imagination right at the start of the year, and that was Zenith, The Last City. I spent tens of hours in it, and I was actually living at my parents for a bit because I got really unwell at the end of last year, and then on New Year's Eve it hit me, and I didn't actually get rid of the illness until March.
Oh, right.
I was on loads of antibiotics. Yeah. And it was at the time I was job hunting, I was totally broke. But when there wasn't really much to do, just the load-in music of Zenith made me so happy. I love the music for that game. And just exploring, grinding, playing with so many Gamecats when you're all lined up and you've got the enemies coming over the hills. It was just, I always go on about this. For me, the VR games I love most are where there is a social experience of co-op, where you can collaborate and explore a world together and help other people complete their quests and stuff. There was a lot of limitations with the game, but it was a game that made me excited for the future of VR. And so for me, that was definitely a highlight.
Dude,
The other two.
well,
Sorry,
before you even move on, man, I
yeah.
100% agree, because I wasn't, MMOs weren't really my thing, and I still don't think that they really are, right? But I think Zenith hit all the right notes for me. And it was it kind of like what I was just saying about Tale of Onogoro. It's a game where it came out again in an era where we were getting on kind of a lot of shit, and a lot of things were not going well for PSVR. And we're like, and then this got sort of announced. We'd heard about this game. They didn't say anything specific about the PSVR version, only that it was in development for the PSVR. And so when they were like, oh, it's coming out across all platforms simultaneously, like, on this date, we're like, oh, wait, really? Like the PSVR version isn't an afterthought? And then when we started it up, we were like, wow, this really wasn't an afterthought. Like you could tell that they'd played other PSVR games. They understood what move controls should feel like. And when you run in and you're like, wow, this actually looks really good. Like, it was low poly for sure, but the art style made up for it. Blades of blades of grass sort of just blowing around, and like, oh, I can climb anything, oh, this is great. And then you jump off, I see people flying around, like when you first walk into that field for the first time. And this is, I'm just going to say, Myles, this is absolutely a highlight of my year too. That's what I'm trying to say here, is that when I see people flying around, I go, and I'm running up to just some random person going, how are you flying, how did you do that, right? And some random person who I don't even know is like, oh, you just climb up something and you jump off, and then you T-pose, and then you fly. And I was like, I'm going to go do that right now. Thank you so much. Like, and these are the social interactions where it's like everyone's sort of helping each other out, just learning the basic mechanics of the game, not even going on quests yet, just learning what to do. And it's like, it's almost like a tutorial on how to play an MMO or how to be social, right? You walk in and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then you're forced to ask people, you're forced to talk to people. And then that's the beginning of you now getting into a group with other people and saying, oh, do you want to go and see what else is out there? Do you want to go on a quest? It was sort of forcing me to be social. And then of course, the first time I actually flew, I was like, this is the best game I've ever played. Like, this, what an amazing feeling.
Not only that, Brian, because I had the basic flying, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And then everyone was doing the fast flying. And I just, I tried it for like 20 seconds and I couldn't do it. And it's that whole feeling of like, I'm never going to be able to do that. I'll just stay with the basic. But then people were like, no, stick with it. This is how you do it. And as soon as you learn the advanced flying of swooping in and getting that momentum, it just changed the game. And it was like, you just felt like you've reached a new sense of consciousness of like, I'm now experiencing this world in a way I didn't think was possible. And, collecting is it like the teardrops or the blue spheres that, once you've got so many, it increases your flying.
Yeah, tears, I think, yeah.
All these kind of things. So much joy. The cooking that I always joke about, but, that was something they didn't really need to add into the game. But as you mentioned with Song in the Smoke, you could have just pressed a button to make it. But no, you've actually got to put the ingredients in. And the fact you can climb anything. Yeah. In the home city, you got all these skyscrapers in the background. And I remember me and friends were like, let's see if we can climb it. And you could literally climb any of them. And there were bits you're like, they don't want, that you shouldn't really be up here this high. But there were ways of doing it because you just had to make sure you got to a ledge before your stamina ran out. And just a game I spent literally tens of hours in, 50, 60 hours in. People asked how I complete a game. That was a game I got the platinum on. I know you don't ever really complete those kind of games. And I'm looking forward to playing the next gen version of it. So yeah.
Well, that answers Looper, the Underground Gamecat's tip, the €10. He said tens of hours. It sounds like you've barely touched Zenith. I don't know if it's the kind of game you can say I've spent hundreds of hours in. So tens of hours is probably the proper expression. I've done about 60. Yeah. I platinumed it in about 50, 60 hours. And that was before they added a lot of the side quests to help with the grind. Yeah. A lot of it was going to the palace in the desert, and we used to keep rounding up enemies up the stairs, and then we'd all work together to just completely destroy them, and then you'd sell the resources they drop for those like side quests where for every 10 you get XP. It was kind of that sort of thing. Two other tips that have come in. Wow. One from Oteda C Caps, £50. Wow. Amazing. Thank you, gentlemen, for a year. Serious, silly, but always fun analysis of everything PSVR related. Cheers.
Cheers to you, my friend. Very, very generous donation.
Oteda.
Oteda. C-caps.
I was trying to like make biscuits, so make lovies but all this did this is just, remember I don't know if you were here for the 3D movie conversation we had, where like you would just see these like when they made 3D movies, they would just have stupid camera angles where things like baseball bats or popcorn were just coming at the camera. I was like, we need this in 3D. Sorry, I'll stop that now. It's probably like freaking somebody out. And Brian, I'm gonna have nightmares about this tonight.
Make a gif of it, guys. Make a gif of that. Exactly.
Somebody will.
Flame hat the GameCat with another Sekiro's 27. Mm-hmm. Can you feel the love tonight? With a nice little line there.
Oh, we got Lion King.
How about that?
Nice.
There we go.
Very nice. Thank you, Flame Hat. Thank you, Oteda Sikaps. I'm just going to keep pronouncing it differently until I fucking nail it.
So yeah, Zenith. So that was on both our lists, right?
That was definitely on both of our lists. Dude, I think this is going to sound really strange. Or maybe it won't sound strange. Maybe this is right on brand. One of the highlights of my year came at the very beginning of this year, because Sony had been so quiet about PSVR2 that when CES rolled around, and the funny thing about CES was that we had been streaming all of these events, being like, they've got to be talking about PSVR2 during this, right? No? Okay, let's stream another event. Okay, they've got to be talking about PSVR2 during this, right? No? And so here we are streaming the Game Awards and everything else, just hours and hours and hours and hours, just waiting for anything PSVR2 to be announced, anything, because they still hadn't announced at that point when PSVR2 was coming out, right? So we've been patiently waiting. We've been like, really, how long is this going to fucking take? And so we've been streaming everything, thinking that a PSVR2 announcement must be just right around the corner. And by the time CES rolled around the very beginning of this year in January, we were fucking done, man. We were done. We were exhausted. I remember talking to AJ and just being like, dude, we just can't. I can't stream CES. It's a consumer electronics show. They very seldom do anything about gaming, right? And so we were just watching it in Discord, and it was like, of course, the event that we'd been waiting for, right? And so, like, obviously, I felt, first of all, like, God, we really screwed this up. We should have been streaming this. But then that feeling was quickly replaced by a much better feeling, and that better feeling was, oh my God, Sony is finally doing the thing we wanted them to do. They're talking about PSVR 2. They've revealed the logo, the official logo.
Yes.
They have revealed the specs that we had leaked like 4 months prior. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter because we just wanted Sony to say it. That's all we cared about. It was like, Sony, talk about PSVR 2. We don't care. Just give it to us. And then, of course, finishing off that presentation for the very first time, talking about Horizon Call of the Mountain, like announcing that the game A exists, and B, showing off the very, very first few seconds of footage that we would ever see, and we
just the.
Yeah, it was like 6 seconds, but it was
so good.
But what an amazing way to kick off the year when you're like, man, this last year has been painful, and then here we are in January. You're like, bam, not knowing, of course, that there's going to be another 12 months of silence following that. But still, it was such an amazing way to kick off the year. It made me feel Sony's got our back. Sony wants this thing to succeed. Here they are at CES making a big deal about it. I couldn't have asked for a better way to kick off the year. I mean, maybe if we were streaming it, that would be like, look, Without Parole is actually on top of their shit for once. But that's the only way that could have gone better, I think.
Yeah, that's a really good one for the list. My next one on the list, and by the way, GameCats, let us know what your highlights of the year were. In the chat, we'd love to see them.
Absolutely.
My next one is related to the PSVR 2, and it's getting my PSVR 2 pre-order secured. We've all been there when the PS5 was announced, and are we getting our pre-order? Are we going to be able to pre-order? Are we going to be able to get one? It was obviously a massive shambles when the PS5 was launched. Sony Direct, you can sign up. Some people will get an email saying it's been confirmed that you will get an invite, and others not so much. But fortunately, we're at a point now where everyone is able to apply. But just having that reassurance that I am going to be getting the PSVR 2 was a highlight, because it just makes it seem that little bit more tangible. It's like, right, it's happening. I've done the saving. I've got it coming. That's really, really great. The only sort of downside to it is this whole thing of you're going to get it in the launch window.
Yeah.
and the launch window starts on launch day and it ends the week afterwards. I do think they're doing that just to cover their backs because of whether it's the it's strikes with the postal service here in the UK, or it's the pandemic, or all these sort of things. They need to cover themselves. It wouldn't surprise me, kind of like that happens with games. They get shipped out a couple of days before. But I don't know if that will happen, but I kind of feel like the majority of us will get it on day one. Obviously, for the work that you and I do, Brian, and especially you, we do want it to ensure that we get to talk about them on the show when with them. If we're going to be a PSVR channel, we need to be able to talk about it as soon as possible.
Yeah. If anybody out there from Sony is listening, anybody, please, for the love of God, hit me up and help me do my job. Ian Stanbridge in the chat says, my highlight of the year was when AJ realized that Sony wasn't going to call them the orbs.
That's a good one. So cool.
Anytime AJ is disappointed, really, is a highlight.
Oh, I liked it. That would have been so good, though. Fleet, the Swedish Gamecat, with the 50 Sekiro tip, half a pizza, smiley face.
Nice. Thank you. I'm definitely ordering half a pizza tonight. I might even order the full thing.
Do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you
when you order a half a pizza? If you order half a pizza, I was at work. You just say, "Hey, whoever's taking this order, you enjoy half of it, and just give me the other half."
I don't know. I think that's just called I think it's just called a small pizza.
Just
make it smaller. Yeah. Do you have taco pizza in the UK?
They're called something else, beginning with P. Papa John's does them here in the UK. They are called. I'm actually looking it up now.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, their website is absolutely abysmal. Like, where's just pizzas? Oh, you have to type in your password. Passcode.
It's like when you go to the grocery store and the only thing you need is milk, and of course it's all the way in the back intentionally because they're like, we know you're gonna buy the milk, so we're gonna make you walk by 200 other things on your way there to entice you to buy other shit. This is what Papa John's is doing, Miles. They know you're there for the pizza. They're gonna make you buy some appetizers on the way out.
Right. Oh, dude, I'm sending you this on Discord now. This is what they have at the top of. This is what I was looking for. It is Handheld Happiness, which is such a great name for it. But it's the new Papadillas.
I mean,
that is.
I don't even know what to do with this. Hold on a second. I need to put this up on the screen.
Do you need to show people?
Yeah. But this is going to be. We need to talk about this.
We need to. This is what happens when you tip about pizza. We talk about pizza and other forms. There we go. That was it. There you go.
Here we go. It's on the screen. Holy crap! It's big. Hold on a second. I guess. Whoa! It's out of control, man. It's out of control.
To,
Papa John's.
Send it to Papa John's and say, "Can you? We've given you a free ad."
Wow! Available in vegan. Available in vegan. Listen.
Yeah, vegan Philly mushroom. It's the papadilla with mushrooms, onion, green peppers, vegan cheese, and ranch sauce.
As somebody who's vegan for years, I gotta say I have zero interest in eating a vegan version of this. New Papadilla's Handheld Happiness, part pizza, part sandwich, full on flavor. So just a heads up, this isn't at all what I was talking about.
I know. This is the closest we've got to it over here.
Okay, so taco pizza. So here's the thing, and not to stretch out an already ridiculously long Gamescast, but anytime someone informs me,
the last one, Brian, we've got ages until New Year's Eve, so we got another 20 hours of this.
Right.
I've got the poppers ready.
Did anyone else?
Confetti's going to fall down. I've got it all set. I've got these balloons on the ceiling and a little string here.
I think poppers means something different to you than it does to me.
Oh, no, I know about them. And, each their own.
Each their own.
You were saying anyway, yeah. Taco pizza.
So getting back on topic. Yeah, man, like every so often, some amazing person enters my life and says, hey, have you ever had this kind of pizza? And I go, what? Like about a year or so ago, somebody was like, have you ever had crispy chicken pizza with banana peppers? And I was like, what? And so it's like literally fried chicken on pizza with sliced banana peppers. They're like spicy, right? And the whole thing, it's amazing. It's like I'm eating fried chicken and pizza at the same time, and it's got spice to it. It's awesome. The crunch, the crunch gives it kind of like this pickled flavor along with dude, it's like just great. And I was like, this is amazing. This has renewed my love of pizza, as if that needed to happen. But then
renewed it,
right? Like as if I'd ever be like, well, I'm just not interested in pizza anymore. But you know, every so often there's a new highlight when it comes to pizza. And so just recently, about 2 weeks ago, I was exposed to taco pizza. And literally, it's like just a little bit of marinara sauce, this taco meat over the entire thing, and then covered in cheese. And then there's like lettuce and onion on top of it. And so when you're eating it, you're literally just eating a taco flavored pizza. And it is really one of the greatest things I've ever had in my entire life. Amazing.
That is quite the statement.
Yeah. If you like go,
wow.
Everybody go find
one of the
a taco
greatest
pizza.
Things.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like I'm suddenly realizing I don't know what I was doing before, right? What was I doing with my life prior to this? It was meaningless. Prior to taco pizza, nothing mattered.
Like discovering Christ, but discovering crust, taco crust.
Discovering crust. Yeah.
in crust we trust.
Good.
Yeah.
So, luckily, there's people in the chat who are all about this. Sinuous goes poppers. This took a strange turn. Wonder Rob says, "Ooh, fried chicken and peppers." The Fenner says, "Nothing beats meat lovers pizza." Kill Artist, taco pizza is really good. Thanks for the support. I needed that. And then Xenomorph says, "Is Avatar 2 in 3D?" So really not paying attention at all to what we're talking about.
So Brian, just to be clear, that was your second highlight of 2022.
Taco pizza, yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Now it's back to you.
My last one you already touched on. It's a quick one. It was joining PSVR Without Parole, 1st of April, and it's just been amazing year. I bang on about it all the time about my appreciation for being here, but it's true. I take this very seriously, and actually, it's kind of in term what I talk about with my own show on Wednesday is, you know, yes, Bryan and I, you know, run the show on the Friday. We have Wes on Wednesday or Wednesday, and AJ on Monday. Is that what it's called?
I don't even want to get into it right now.
But the biggest part of it is you, the community. Like, people spend time in the chat. You know, some people just watch, but those that talk in the chat, it's because you are a part of this conversation as well. And you've always made me feel welcome. You tease me from time to time, but in a very nice way, in a nudge, wink, wink way. And I love it. So yeah, it's definitely a highlight for me. It's definitely changed my relationship with VR, obviously. And I can't wait for next year.
Yeah, man. Neither can I. This is amazing, and it's been awesome. Like, you know, there's obviously a lot of I'm sure in front of the camera, you know, when people are just watching, it seems like we make changes, Sirens on my end, pretty willy-nilly, right? We just go, Dez is no longer on the channel. Jeremy's no longer on the channel. You know, GamesCast Live is now, you know, instead of being once a week, now it's 3 times a week. Now, and now instead of having, you know, just me and AJ, now it's me and AJ. Now it's me and Wes, and now it's me and Miles. It probably seems like we just kind of like make these decisions, or I make these decisions, and don't put much thought into them. It's like heart-wrenching, man. Like every time we have to make like this drastic change, because I don't like change. I'm not a fan, right? And so every time we make a change, I'm sort of just waiting for everyone to hate it, and then on top of that, for me to realize that like I've completely ruined the channel and that everything's going to go sour, and it's just all downhill from here. So it's sort of a very pessimistic attitude, but it's, you know, sort of the way that I've always sort of lived. And I've got to say, this has been, I think, one of the best changes for the channel, doing this 3 days a week, having different voices on, getting your perspective as somebody who's a little bit newer to PSVR. You get in a little bit later, right? You've got a backlog, so we're constantly hearing about you getting caught up on games. I think that's really refreshing, because, you know, if you were to ask me about certain games, I'd be like, oh yeah, old hat, old news. But for so many cats out there, they're just now getting into PSVR, and so this is news to them. This is, and hearing somebody be excited about a game that like I've long forgotten about is I think just as important as covering like everything new that's coming out. And of course, Wes has his entire other perspective of you know, PC VR and Quest, and just having that knowledge on things. And AJ and I, like, man, we can do this with our eyes closed, right? Like, this is just I think we got really, really comfortable working together. And I think when you get too comfortable, that's when you need to switch things up. And so I'm just really, really happy that this worked out, and I really think it's one of the best changes we've ever made on the channel. And so thank you for being part of that, man. I really appreciate you being here.
Mutual respect, dude. It's the best feeling.
So these are your highlights of the year. Those are my highlights of the year. Taco pizza. And now let's take a minute, man. Like let's look forward. As we just looked back, let's look forward. 2023 is obviously going to be a game changer for the channel, for us as VR gamers, for Sony, for PlayStation, for VR, for everything. Hold on a second. Zombie has a very important question that's like really, he says, serious taco pizza question. Do you use mostly mozzarella cheese with cheddar cheese on top? I think it is a different kind of cheese. Like it really does taste different from pizza. I don't know the answer to that question, but it's delicious. Let's make a few predictions moving forward. What predictions do you have for 2023, Myles?
I'm going to go with the one that I'm least confident about first, and it's game specific.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, okay. And I touched on it a bit earlier, I think with what someone had said as a tip. It is that Beat Saber, or Beat Games, will declare that Beat Saber is coming to PSVR2, but at the final hour. Now, let me unpack this a little bit. I feel that there's two ways this can go, and this is going to sound really obvious. One is it doesn't come to PSVR2, and Meta decides, no, we're not going to, it came to PSVR, then, Meta bought it, but for the next generation, this is going to be a system seller. Everyone loves playing Beat Saber. Even I would think of getting a Quest just to play Beat Saber if it didn't come to PSVR2. So it might not come out. But my prediction is it will come to PSVR2 because to not do it, they would be creating a vacuum that so many rhythm game titles have been biting around, swimming around, circling like sharks, just wanting to take that top spot, but no one's been able to do it because Beat Saber has been literally able to slice everyone away. But I think Meta is in a position with Beat Games where they don't need publicity. People are going to be getting it. It's popular. And why give PSVR a competitor headset free press, especially when there's talk about the Quest 3 coming out just around the corner?
Yeah.
They still need to announce this, the new XP progression systems and things like that. So my prediction is that Beat Saber will come to PSVR 2, but it will be announced in the final hour because they don't really need to declare a lot about it. And they could literally say the week, yeah, all right, it's coming out on PSVR 2. It could literally just appear on the store. And then the people that have already got it will get the upgrade, better be free. Or people will buy it because they're like, what game should I start with first? Oh, what's at the top of the charts? It's Beat Saber. I understand the argument that it's not always about revenue. Sometimes it's about having something exclusive. But for something that is dominating and it's such a cultural dominant force in the VR culture, I feel like it'd be a huge misstep to not. I mean, look, the guys that work at Beat Games, like the people that make the stuff, they would no doubt want it to be on PSVR 2, but it's not their decision ultimately. And what we've seen with John Carmack, who's recently left Meta, is there are disagreements internally between business decisions and technical vision decisions. And that's just the way business works. And Mark Zuckerberg could be like, no, this game is the biggest VR game in the world. We want it to be exclusive. But I do think it will come to PSVR 2. What do you think about that, Brian?
To me, there's no question about it, that it's coming to PSVR 2. I think it'll be there for launch. I think that all of our DLC is going to carry over. It'll be a free upgrade. The reason we haven't heard about it yet is because Sony knows how important this game is. As you said, you were saying it in terms of Facebook knows how important this game is to VR. Sony knows how important this game is to VR, and they know that it's important that it's on PSVR 2. So whatever negotiations are happening behind the scenes between Meta and Sony obviously included a Beat Saber conversation, right? And so they're like, well, what do we have to do to make this happen? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. Maybe we'll never know the answer to that question. Like what deal had to be struck in order for it to end up on PSVR 2. But you're no longer an important game, as they've been a huge game, but you're no longer an important game if you suddenly don't appear on what is potentially the biggest VR headset to ever have been released. Is it going to dominate the sales in terms of like knocking Quest 2 out of the park? Are we going to hit 10, 15 million units sold in the first couple of years? No, absolutely not. Over the course of its lifespan, I think we'll get to some really big numbers, but that's not, I don't think what PSVR2's role is in the VR industry. I think the role that PSVR2 is playing is moving the industry forward and getting AAA games like finally getting these big full-fledged games in VR, the thing that we've been asking for 7 years. So I think when there's a company, a manufacturer like Sony doing that, then Beat Saber or Meta being left out of that conversation is detrimental to them, right? So I think it's just as beneficial to Meta for Beat Saber to have a prosperous future. It has to be on PSVR2 in order to ensure that, right? It's just as beneficial to them. So I think Sony wants to announce this kind of thing on their stage. Puzzling Places developers have been like, oh, we can't say anything yet. Like, really, Puzzling Places? You can't say anything yet? Right? The Wanderer devs, well, we can't say anything yet. We've got some announcements coming up soon. Swordsman, we know it's coming, but they can't say it. I feel like Sony's just going to have like this indie sizzle reel at some point, whether it be at CES or whether it be, or whether it be kind of a blog post version of a sizzle reel or whatever it is. One of the many things they're going to be announcing for PSVR2 soon will be all of these games are coming to PSVR2. And the reason that all of these studios can't say it yet is because Sony's the one who's going to be the one saying it and saying, look at all these games that are also coming over. So I think that's the reason we haven't heard about it. There's, in my book, not a chance in hell that it's not coming to PSVR2.
Cool. I like it. That makes me feel better about it as well. I actually today spent $35 on the last 3 DLCs for Beat Saber because I've sort of been playing catch up. So the Lizzo Weekend and the new Metal mixtape. I played half of the Nirvana song, and then I was like, wow, my arms are not feeling this. Like, it's been a long time. I need to get my Beat Saber muscle. But like, I just want to be able to experience this with proper tracking because I've never in my life, and it'll be really interesting to know how many of the times I made mistakes were because of me and how many were because of the light just going
right
out of the way. But anyway, what's your first prediction, Brian?
There's two titles, man, when it comes to PSVR2, because I think that Sony is going to be obviously at the forefront of hybrid games, and they're going to kind of be demonstrating to the rest of the industry what hybrid gaming is all about. And then kind of hand it over to third party studios, and then get them to bring their hybrid games out. And so there's 2 first-party games that, for whatever reason, I just can't shake, thinking that these are going to be the games they demonstrate hybrid gaming with. And so I feel like I'm stealing one of your predictions, but hopefully that just means we can have a conversation about it instead of And so those 2 games for me are Destiny, because they just bought Bungie, and so they're not making Bungie exclusive to PlayStation, but they are delivering a reason to play it on PlayStation with PSVR2. I feel like Destiny would be the perfect title, because we need first-person shooters, man. Like, it is crazy when you look at the list of PSVR2 games. It is kind of crazy to see these big gaping holes in the launch lineup and beyond, of genres that we just need more of, or at least a couple titles to kind of fill those voids. Like, there's shockingly 0 racing games, 0 driving games. There are no JRPGs or RPGs in general. Like, where's our Skyrim? Where's our Fallout 4? And I think Destiny will kind of help fill one of those voids, because it's got such a strong, loyal multiplayer online community that this would be a reason for people to don their headset over and over and over and over again and potentially be the best way to play it. So it's that. And then I think the bigger stretch here is actually The Last of Us Part 1. I've said it before, I'll say it again. They're charging $70 for a game that we've already bought twice before. This would be a reason to justify that $70 purchase, for me at least, because I've already bought it twice. I'm really, really, really not buying it a third time unless they're like, hey, you know that game you bought? Well, here's what we mean by hybrid game. It's a third person game, but when you play it in VR, it's first person, and you can actually, you know, like listen with you know, Q sound or whatever the fuck it's called.
Very good.
What the hell is the sound called? This just left my brain. You can actually hear everything.
For the audio.
Yeah, but Tempest audio.
I'll tell the Tempest engine, yeah.
Yeah. So you can actually hear where the clickers are and you can actually rely less on the visual outlines that Joel uses when he goes up against the wall, right? And I think that would be the perfect game to sort of introduce hybrid gaming to the world with.
I don't know if I mentioned it on the show before, but when I played The Last of Us Part 1, the outline listening vision thing, I only used maybe once or twice in the game, and I think it was just going, oh yeah, I've got this. But the 3D audio is so good, you don't use it, and like, that is amazing.
That's really good to hear, because it's been years since I played.
Honestly, the remake is phenomenal, and every time I play that game, I love it even more. But I rented it because I wasn't prepared to pay the full price for it. Mm-hmm. And just the other day, I went into town to see if I could get a second-hand copy. They could only offer me a full game, and it was still £70, which is like $80. And I was like, okay, I'm going to rent it again. You know, I would happily hand over some money for it, but not that much. And it's just, again, it's not because I don't appreciate it for what it is. It's about priorities, especially in the current economic system that we're in. I'll go with my prediction that relates to what you just mentioned, but just to quickly catch up on a few tips. Looper, the underground game cat, with the €2 tip. Spaghetti pizza is my favourite. I don't think I've ever had spaghetti pizza.
Have you ever had spaghetti tacos, Looper? Or is that just an iCarly myth?
It's an iCarly myth, is it?
That's right.
Marco XL with the $5 Canadian says dollars to Myles.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mako.
All powers up this ship that we are on. Looper the Underground Game Cat with the €5. Regarding the Rock mixtape, having Nirvana and Guns N' Roses next to each other looks like an unintended joke.
Oh, is that because they Kurt Cobain they kind of hated each other, right? Like Kurt Cobain thought, yeah. I mean, it was sort of like the changing of the guards. It's like the Guns N' Roses were so glam, like up their own ass with their own egos and shit. Or at least Axl Rose was, right. He was so egotistical, and then you got Kurt Cobain, who was just like the grunge rocker, who like zero, no pretentiousness at all. Comes in, just plays the show, rocks out.
I always wondered how true that was, and then I went to see Guns N' Roses live at Download Festival in the UK. They were headlining. They came on maybe half an hour late, and then when they were on, people were so annoyed. They kept stopping at the end of songs going, you know, we've made an effort to come out and play to you today. If you're not going to appreciate us, we'll just go. And everyone in the crowd just gave him the middle finger. Kerrang! Magazine gave them, I think, -1K. It's like 1 to 5Ks. It was like -1K. And it was just, and I believe if it wasn't that festival, it was another one, but it was where Axl, the reason they were late was he was having a nap on the bus and they were trying to get him awake.
A nap?
He wasn't ready.
Oh, how adorable. Why not? Nice.
That's
actually why we were 3 minutes late for GameScast today, because I took an unexpected nap in the middle of the day, and I was just 3 minutes late all day for the rest of the day. I couldn't get caught up.
We've got ET2K9.now.
ET.2K9.now.
With a there was a disturbed $50 tip. Wow. Thanks to the crew for another year of pushing through the drought before the magical day in Feb. Happy New Year, cats. Much love. Wow. Right. This is so good.
This is a testament to the cats out there, man. Like, and the fact that we've had so many shows where there's just no news, nothing new to talk about, and these guys keep us fed with topics and tips and all sorts of things to talk about. Viewer takeover questions. This is a testament to the cats out there that we've been able to somehow have 3 shows a week since April 1st. Pretty much without interruption. There's been very, very few canceled shows in the last in the last, what is that, 8 months?
Yeah.
Amazing. This has been such a down period, and to be able to have all this content, all this time filled, and for me, like whenever I walk away from a Gamescast, I always leave better than I got here. Right. I usually get here and I'm like down and depressed and just I'm tired, and I'm like, and there's usually a moment within hours of the show starting that I'm like, oh man, I don't want to do this today. And then we do it. We hang out. We have a good time. We shoot the shit. It's not just the two hosts up here. It's us hanging out with all of you guys out there. And I walk away feeling infinitely better than I got here feeling. And so thank you guys all so much. You guys are sending a lot of love our way, and you need to know how much I appreciate you guys. And so I'm sending love the other way. You guys have been keeping me moving for the better part of the last 6 years.
And we all love you, Bryan. And it's so good to hear that.
Thank you. Also, ET.2K9 now. ET.2K9 now.
Right, easy.
Yes, it's great.
Right. So my prediction that relates to what you were speaking about
This is it, man. This is going to be the last one. I'm excited. What is it?
Oh, I have one other one, though.
Oh, then this is the second to last one, man. This is good.
Yeah,
Good. What is it?
Yeah. It's a big gaming IP will announce a VR version is coming to PSVR2. Now, I haven't put when. I don't necessarily mean it's going to be a launch. Yeah. But the three I've put, Destiny 2, as you mentioned, GTA Online, and Modern Warfare, which, a Call of Duty. Because the idea about, there's the talk about, Activision and Xbox. I think even if the deal had gone through, I do think Xbox would still do a VR component. They'd say, we've got this PSVR2 headset. This is actually a good test with one of our studios to test VR technology. They could learn from it. And then if they're going to release their own peripheral, I don't think that actually ring fences Xbox out of making stuff for the PlayStation platform. The one game I don't have on here is Fortnite, just because of the Tim Sweeney stuff, which is a conversation still happening online. Mm-hmm. Like that story they're not thinking about it at the moment. Or if they are, the CEO doesn't know about it.
Right.
And, but yeah, look, Destiny 2, for all the reasons Bryan said, GTA Online, we've always mentioned, would be great. And, a Call of Duty game, the first person shooter thing. There has to be a big IP coming. It could be The Last of Us as well. But, Call of the Mountain, Horizon, it does actually fall under that category, but I do feel I'm looking towards a much bigger title like mainstream. And again, Horizon is a massive title, but we're talking about like more in the mainstream culture of like where there's the competitive element to it. It's a single player game. Horizon, they are actually working on a multiplayer now, but I'm thinking about what is a big multiplayer cultural phenomenon in the gaming space. One of them is going to get a VR port. It's
weird that we've been hearing about this Horizon. I mean, is essentially an MMO, right? For a while now. Is an MMO a multiplayer?
I don't know if they've confirmed that, but it makes sense for something like that. But yeah, there's going to be some co-op multiplayer. But they are working on.
That's not a game that we're ever saying. At least here on GameScast, I don't know if there's people somewhere else out there in the ether saying, "Oh, this would be perfect for PSVR2." But we now know that MMOs can work perfectly fine in VR, and so why wouldn't they be looking at this to be a PSVR2 title? And it would be amazing. It'd be amazing. Let's hope it'd be amazing. It could be shit. We have no idea.
New tip coming by Geblegep. Blasphemy.
He's just fucking with me now because my eyes.
$4.99. With the $4.99 tip. Bryan Paul, thank you so much for being our PSVR spirit guide through these upsy downsy times you find human being, loved from afar by many cats. And then there's a little cat emoji.
Oh, thanks, genetic blasphemy. I'm not even going to try to say the word, but I appreciate you trying to fuck with me. That's nice. My inability to read.
Your final prediction, Bryan. You got another one?
I don't. I don't have a prediction, but I'm going to go way out there on a limb, right? I didn't have one prepared, and I was like, I'm sure during the show I'll just come up with something.
And here you are. I'm Taco Pizza VR, Simulator VR.
I think by the end of 2023, and I'm only saying this to make it a 2023 prediction. I actually think it could be the beginning of 2024. But let's go out on a limb. Let's say something crazy. I think Sony will announce either a wireless dongle or a wireless headset. You can upgrade your PSVR2 too, and so that I think by the end of 2023, we will be hearing. This makes no sense. I want to say it's obviously if it was going to happen, it would be the beginning of 2024.
Announced in 2023.
Announced in 2023, and I think I'm actually wrong, but I just want to throw out a random prediction that, like, wouldn't it be crazy if I was right, kind of thing, because we know that obviously Sony's looked into wireless VR. They know that the wire was the way to make console quality VR happen, and also we've seen all of the downfalls of wireless VR, right? Super low battery life and then needing to add more attachments to up the battery life, and then you end up playing with the wire plugged in anyway, right? So I think, and obviously, streaming at 4K to the headset is not the easiest thing. You'd have to have like a really strong router in order to make that work. And so I think Sony's probably been toiling away at this, going, how can we make this happen? And also, obviously, making it wireless could also make it super expensive. I think we just said this very recently that if Sony had announced a wireless version at launch that was like $100 more or even $150 more, the headlines wouldn't read PSVR2 gets announced $550. The headlines, as we know, clickbaity as hell whenever possible. Because we even saw, in order to play Horizon Call of the Mountain, it's going to cost you $1,000. I was like, well, yeah, that's kind of true. All of the headlines would have read, not $550, PSVR 2 is going to cost you $700, right?
Right.
And then in very small letters, if you want to play wirelessly. It's like, so I think it's a smart marketing move to, PSVR 2 is already, to some people, very expensive. To me, it's very expensive. It's just, it wasn't going to hold me back from buying it. So I think that this is a smart move. Get it out as cheap as possible with a wire, and then a little bit down the road, talk about a wireless option.
Well, there's talks at the moment that there's a PS5 being developed that is going to be slim with a detachable disk drive.
Super smart. Super smart move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is all being considered. So yeah, no, I think it's a fair one. Again, bold prediction, but it's good to have them. And I think my final prediction would fall into this category anyway, because I'm not. Maybe this should be the first one on my list. These are all ones that are like, they're all kind of bold because I feel like any safe predictions are a bit boring. Yeah. This is that PlayStation will be hosting a showcase in Q1 of 2023.
No chance in hell.
You don't think so?
I mean, so I'm joking, obviously, because no.
You might think that though.
We've been patiently waiting for a showcase like fucking forever, right? Like when is it going to happen? Like, why didn't it happen any time during the course of 2022? And when it didn't happen early in the year, we're like, oh, it's got to be happening in March. Now it's going to be happening in June. Now it's going to be there's got to be one in November, right? No. So you think there's something separate from CES? They're not going to be showing a lot of their cards at CES. They're going to have their own actual showcase, early 2023.
There's so many titles that we know of that are currently being developed that they're sort of doing the odd post, like Spider-Man 2, The Last of Us Factions, The Last of Us Part 3 is in development, although it's not being spoken about. They're waiting for January is going to be the start of The Last of Us show. We do have CES. We're over the hill with Christmas and the push for PS5s. Do you know what? PS5 was trending on Twitter at Christmas of just people opening up and getting PS5s. That has not happened too much yet. And it was, there were so many heartwarming videos. And it's because the availability is there. Like, it's going to be a really strong year for them. And so, yeah, Q1 does include March. And so it could be after PSVR is out there that they could say, right, now it's time to show the next phase. So yeah, look, I'm not completely convinced with this prediction. It's a bold one, but we did miss one out towards the end of the year. There has been power for PlayStation to not do a showcase during the summer season when they're competing for attention in the attention economy against Xbox and Nintendo and stuff like that. They did have a good show in the Game Awards, but why not do a massive showcase in the first quarter in which VR titles, more VR titles are announced?
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, I mean, so I like the prediction, but it also kind of goes against a very bold prediction that I made very recently, because E3 is kind of dying or dead, right? It kind of, I mean, it's if it's not dead yet, it's going out with the biggest whimper we've ever not heard. And so, CES used to be a place for all of this stuff before E3 rolled around. CES used to be a gaming show along with an electronic show. And so you've got to figure that like maybe CES is probably looking into bringing that shit back into the fold and being like this. We want CES to be a place where not only is new technology revealed, but also look at this multi-billion-dollar industry that we're sort of on the cusp of, right? We're sort of like tangentially related to. So why not just go all in? We've already got Sony coming here and revealing shit on stage. Why not, work with them and bring the games back to CES? So I really do think that there's a potential for Sony to be treating CES as their new E3 and being like, well, we don't have to do this on our own. We can just show up here and CES wants us here. And we're going to be attracting the viewers that CES is looking for. There's got to be some kind of symbiotic relationship going on there, which would allow this to happen. So we'll see what happens next week at CES. But I think if we see a lot of things at CES, then I think that would kind of potentially keep us from seeing an actual Sony showcase. This could be their new venue.
I agree with that. I do think CS will stay in the corporate sort of zone, and it will follow up by a blog post and stuff like that. That's not to go against what you're saying, but you're right. They could change it. Look, they pulled out of E3, which was a thing they were always a part of. What's not to say they're now going to inject some new life into something else that's normally seen as more corporate, business facing, and actually making it their sort of thing that they own the space on a more commercial, mainstream perspective. Just a couple of tips. Marco XL says PSVR2 will be hacked to use on PC and super popular. That's a really cool prediction, because that has been a question of, if they're trying to ship lots of these headsets, why not make it playable, even if it has to be done through a PlayStation player where it's only PlayStation VR titles. That doesn't stop then, other people hacking, to get, PC games working on it. But if you want the true experience, because a sort of side note, for Christmas, I bought my brother God of War, the 2018 game, for PC. Mm-hmm. My brother had a PS3. I had the first and second, and he inspired me to get on the PS3. Myself, he played the God of War games. I never did. I played a bit of, I think, God of War 3. And actually on Christmas Eve, I was sort of talking to him about it, and he was like, oh, I'd never buy a PlayStation game, because why would I spend 60 quid on a game that's a few years old? And I sort of tapped him on the leg and went, I guess you'll just have to see what Santa's got you. But when I was researching for it, I was looking at the DualSense. I was going to buy him a DualSense as well, and I was wondering, do you actually get the haptics out of it? Now, God of War 2018 is a last-gen game, so I don't know with other PC games like Returnal. My impression is that you get... I don't actually know if the DualSense... I don't think the haptics work. I think just you can get drivers for basic rumble. But the reason I bring this up is that question...
No adaptive triggers, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So, and again, although I do think that for the 2018, they did a PS5 update that does do the haptics. I honestly, I don't know what the answer is to all this, and someone in the chat can clarify. But the reason I bring this up is, even if they are able to, hack a PlayStation VR to work, it's not going to have the haptics in the headset. You're not going to have the DualSense controllers. So there is actually a reason that Sony could make it available on the PC platform. But you know what? They might just do what they do with their games. Yeah, we are going to bring PSVR2 to PC, but not for another year. If you want to experience the best of VR, you got to come over and get a PS5 first. So yeah, I do think that's a reality that could come to pass in 2024 and beyond.
I mean, it's obviously something that a lot of people want. I've seen hundreds of comments. Anytime I post a PSVR2 video, somebody is always there to say, "Will this work on PC?" And it's because obviously this is a great headset at a consumer friendly price. I mean, it's a stretch to say consumer friendly when it's $550, but you know what I mean. It's way cheaper than a comparable headset on PC would be. So I get it. I get the desire for it to work. I get the desire for people to have this be their headset, especially with the Sense controllers being as great as they are. So, but then yeah, and I would have been 100% gung ho about this until Wes and I did our episode a few weeks back about whether or not PSVR 2 should work on PC VR, and I had a complete 180 where I was like, this is now a selling point for PlayStation 5. And the number one thing that Sony is concerned about, as we've learned the last couple of years, is selling more PlayStation 5s and saying this is a thing you can only do on our console, right? And yes, bringing things to PC after the fact. Horizon came to PC 6 years after Horizon came out. A lot of games won't take that long to make it over to PC. A lot of games already haven't taken that long to get over to PC, but I don't really see them making that jump based on that conversation that we had. We'll see. If it happens, I'll be very, very happy because the more VR, the better, right? Like kind of the rising tide theory.
Yeah.
So I really hope it does happen. I just kind of don't see it right now. It doesn't make a whole lot of financial sense, but I hope it works. I hope it happens.
No, I'm with you, Brian. And also, we're entering an interesting new phase with the relationship between PC gaming and consoles. Now that consoles have solid state drives on them, because look, I'm someone who honestly, I think if you're a PC gamer, that's awesome. Part of me would like to have a PC, a gaming PC. People play on Xbox, that's great. I'm not someone for the console wars and like what's better. But the truth is, the thing I've always said of why I play on console is because I like the fact that you buy a machine and any game you buy for it is going to run and it's been optimized for that platform for the most part. Mm-hmm. There has been a lot happening lately, and I'm slowly getting into the digital foundry space of getting geeky with like learning about the technical side. A lot of it goes way over my head, but it's still interesting. But with games like the Callisto Protocol that just came out, they had major issues with the PC release where there was shader compilation stutter, which I don't understand what it is, but it was a massive issue that has happened with a lot of Unreal 4 games on the PC. And they have to do patches to deal with it. That is one facet of many aspects of the relationship between why would you get a console over PC. PlayStation can say, get PSVR 2. Yes, you can only get it on PS5. But you know what? These games are made for PS5. They're made for PSVR 2. Yeah. If you buy it, you are guaranteed this experience. Yeah, we can do a PC port later down the line, but it's like, for lack of a better term, it's kind of muddying the waters of their marketing. Because I know that I think when Horizon went to PC, I think there was a lot of issues at launch. They fixed it, but it was a discussion point. Whereas there was a few other games that were a lot better at launch. And, PlayStation are learning it. But I do think there is something to be said, as you were speaking on, Brian, that it's a package. These two things work hand in hand, and you're going to get the best experience in VR. That is what their selling point is going to be.
Ryan Barron with the $5 tip says, how likely would Insomniac Games' Wolverine be to get some form of VR2 implementation?
This was an old prediction. I mean, I don't think it's going to be next year, but I do think Wolverine is a real contender for it, just because.
Yeah,
that's my impression of Wolverine.
That's a great impression.
I mean, I could do with. I haven't got a third pen. I've got a. No, I haven't got it for the other hand.
Oh, keep doing it. This is our 3D movie thing all over again. Keep. I like that when on your, because you have a better camera than I do. The focus actually, you completely blurred out and your hand was in focus, so it actually had a pretty cool 3D effect going on there. Yeah.
All right, well, we got it. So, yeah, if you imagine Wolverine in 3D on VR, it would look something.
And if Wolverine was an artist that had used colorful markers, this is actually damn, that's pretty cool, man. Oh,
that's why I got it. That's why I got it to do this.
Yeah,
there you go.
Right.
I've done it.
I hope
my money's worth.
I hope it was worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what we talking about? Wolverine. Yeah, I think Wolverine's a real contender. I mean, look, there's a lot of talk on Twitter again at the moment about these Spider-Man VR patches.
Yeah.
And you know what? They could be really good patches. Doesn't mean that Insomniac wants to be associated with it. You know, they're the guys that made that game that made everyone vomit on their floors.
But Insomniac has such a great history with VR. You got to figure that they're looking into it and saying, how can we make this work? And a lot of the VR patches for Spider-Man that we've seen on PC, a lot of the mods, there's a lot good. I think it's a Luke Ross mod, the newest one. It's third person, right? And so it's like you just kind of have like this better feeling of the city than seeing it on a flat television. And so, especially when you're Spider-Man, like I could see Wolverine or Spider-Man coming to PSVR2 in third person, and yes, we all want to like do this and this and like swing around the city by doing these motions in first person. But I think a good, at least a suitable happy medium would be a third person port, because when you're flying around the city and your head is the camera and you just see, it really gives you the sense of how high up in the air you are. That might be good enough, man. That might be a good enough selling point for VR. When it comes to Wolverine, I feel like a little more, there's less crazy over the top flips, and they could probably rein that in a little bit and make Wolverine somebody who runs around and uses his claws, his adamantium claws, quite a bit. So I think of the two, I think we'd be more likely to see Wolverine get a VR mod on PSVR2 or whatever they want to call it, VR patch.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
It would be great. It'd be really great.
Do you know what else is great, Brian?
I don't, Miles.
3-hour GameScast lives. I've really enjoyed it today. I mean, we've covered a lot and it's been really, really good. And that's kind of what I like about these shows, is sometimes they're really short. I mean, rarely.
Yeah. They're never short.
But mostly they are long, bloated messes.
Yeah.
And people watching going, I think they're going to end soon. I might stick around a little bit long. Do you know what? I'll just leave it running in the background.
Yeah. I'm going to go see a movie and then come back and they're still doing this thing. So one of the... for anyone who doesn't know, by the way, Miles is in the UK, and the sun is rising over there. It's 6 a.m. UK time. Did you know that? 6 a.m. That's what happens when we go 3 hours. He doesn't get any sleep. Much respect, Miles, for sticking with it.
Much respect, Brian.
You know what time it is?
It's time to get on with story number 1, Brian. Story number 1.
Do you guys remember the song In the Smoke from 2021? Edge magazine article came out yesterday.
Let's bring that up. Let's bring that up right now. Yeah, what is it?
Miles, it is time for PSVR 20 questions, and you are the host this week. Do you have, Miles, a game picked out for PSVR 20 questions?
Yeah, I do, Brian.
Excellent. Before we actually do 20 questions, every so often, the only way I can fix the chat is by like doing this and like bringing up the PlayStation blog or something ridiculous in its place, and then bringing up.
And while he does this, chat, 2 things. Firstly, hit the like button if you haven't already. We're close to 200 likes.
Nice.
And secondly, although I will be looking to the chat, because there's been such a great tip train going today, if anyone tips with a question for Brian, I will ask that question. I will ask any question. If 20 tips are given, the first 20 tips were questions, and one of them is like,
oh boy,
is there a banana in it? I have to read it, and it has to be one of my questions. So this could be interesting.
I'm a little scared because strangely, if Vince in the chat says 1:40 a.m. It's like, I know, man. I know. Don't ruin the joke, right? No. This is a scary prospect, because for some reason, Miles, people listen to you. Like, and I don't know why. So I'm a little scared that there's going to be that this is going to be the most fucked up game of 20 questions we've ever had. That being said,
please don't ask if there's a banana in it. Although, are there any games with bananas in them? Yeah, there's a few.
I mean, I guess we would know immediately if it was Tarzan. So
there we go.
Yeah. All right, man. I'm going to bring up a 6-minute clock now, guys. Remember, even though I've reviewed almost every PSVR game ever made, and if I haven't reviewed it, I've at least played through it. My brain shuts down the second we go live and start GamesCast Live, and I can't remember any PSVR game at all, the second we start 20 questions, because that's just how it works. Oh, God. The questions are already rolling in. So I'm going to need your help. I need your help in the chat ask good questions for me to ask. Wait a minute. You're the host. I have to ask the questions that. Oh no!
Yeah.
No.
I forgot. That's awesome.
You just signed me up for some shit that I was.
That's cool. This
not
is
expecting.
This is good, Brian. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah.
You got one already.
Oh my God! Send good questions. Oh no! We got to get started. Oh my God! It's happening. I'm so fucked right now. Okay.
You got to quickly ask questions before they send more tips in.
All right. Here we go.
So you get your own questions in. Right. But you have to go to theirs first.
Yes, I will. Absolutely. Help me out in the chat, guys. I need all the suggestions I can for as we get answers to these questions. Make sure you give me some good suggestions as to what game it might be. On your mark, get Des, go. There it is. Looper the Underground Gamecat with the €2 says, does it have sticks in it?
Like wooden sticks?
No. Or does it use analog sticks?
No, I'm going to say wooden sticks. It doesn't have wood like sticks from trees.
No,
it doesn't.
Yeah,
no
sticks.
Has that narrowed it down a bit?
It does a little bit. Mako XL with the Canadian $2 tips. We're never going to figure out this game. It says, are there hats in it? Myles, are there hats?
No, there are not. There are not hats in it, Brian.
What? No hats?
You can. No, you can ask your own questions now until more tips come in.
Oh, good. I better ask a bunch of questions. Oh, crap.
Oh, no, there's one here. Yoshi Rabbit for question number 3.
No, we're never going to get this. Yoshi Rabbit tragedy with the £2. Does it involve taco pizzas?
It doesn't, Brian. It doesn't.
No.
That narrowed it down anymore. That's 3.
Why am I even writing this down? You see my no column? My no column.
That's good.
Sticks,
17 questions left.
Hats, taco pizzas. It's important that I wrote these down because this will help. We're in big trouble.
17 questions left.
Okay. Has this developer made other PSVR games?
I
don't AJ this.
Oh man, especially with these tips coming in. I am going to say oh man. Just having a quick look now. Yes, they have.
Okay. That's good to hear. Other PSVR. Give a big blasphemy with the $2 tip says, is it a title of French origin?
No, it's not, Brian.
Oh God.
5. There we go. 5. You got 15 left though. 15 questions.
Oh my God.
That's a lot of questions.
I better ask about the developer because it's the only thing I know about this game. Oh no, I didn't ask it fast enough. Looper the Underground Gamecat with the €2. Oh no, says, does it have cockpits?
It does have cockpits, Brian.
Whoa,
power move right there.
Okay.
Power move right there.
Twitch is a single player Gamecat. This isn't an actual question. He says, do we even care?
Yeah,
really?
It's 2 questions.
That's not no. Those don't count. Those don't count.
Do we care? Do we even care? Question mark. Yes.
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
Yes.
Nope.
So that's 2.
I don't think.
8.
Nope. I'm not accepting.
No, okay, we'll skip.
Serial Killer, the Agent of Chaos Gamecat, the great name with the $2 tip says, does it have poppers? Oh wait, I meant guns. Does it have guns?
It does have poppers. I mean guns, Brian. Yes, it does.
Nice.
You are now 7 questions in.
Okay, so crap. But
okay.
Bobby Bananas.
Bobby Bananas.
With the Canadian $2 tip.
I say bananas. You say bananas.
Are there bananas in it? As Bobby Bananas.
I don't think there are.
Oh my God, I'm never gonna get this. This is crazy. Okay, cockpits, guns. Oh Jesus.
No bananas.
Yeah, I mean, we just had Ace Combat. And Namco hasn't made other PSVR games, right? Although I guess Tekken sort of counts. Is this would you call this an indie game?
Oh man. I mean, I would say yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're sticking with because it sounds like you might change.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah.
Okay, Mako XL with the Canadian $2 tip says, "Is it that Star Wars game, or is it a Star Wars game?" Let's go with that.
No,
No Star
it's
Wars.
not. That's 10. That's 10, Brian.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, we got some good things here going on with like Ultra Wings is a great suggestion. Oh, Looper the Underground Gamecat with the €2 asks, "Does it have islands?"
Yeah, it does have islands.
Okay. Okay, well, let me ask you this: Is what you're doing in this game mostly flying around in planes?
Yeah, Brian.
Okay.
Yeah, 12.
Okay. That's 12 questions. Okay. Flying around in planes. That's good. Let's figure this out. Is there a sequel to this game on other platforms?
No, there isn't, Brian.
Okay, it's not Ultra Wings, you guys.
13.
Okay, not Ultra Wings. So what game has you flying around in planes, in cockpits, with guns, indie game, has islands? This developer has made other PSVR game. It's not Ultra Wings, you guys. Not Ultra Wings. Would this be made? Oh, hold on. Aceville, the Marvin
Gamecat
with the $5 tips. Happy New Year! Hashtag GameCat Army. Be well, be safe. Enjoy those with you. Swipe. Also, do you shoot balloons?
You do not shoot balloons, Brian. 14.
Is there multiplayer in this game?
No, there isn't, Brian. That's 15.
Okay, this is not RC Airplane Challenge. I mean, Pirate Fight. It seems like we're the closest we're going to get to this. Have we said the name of this game yet during the game during 20 questions?
I'm looking up now. No.
We've not said the name of it. We got 13 seconds left. Holy crap! How is this going? How is this happening? Flying around planes. It is not Ace Combat. It's not Ultra Wings. It's not RC Airplane Challenge. It's not. Oh my God! Dude, I just lost. What?
I don't know how you lost, man. You had loads of help. You had loads of questions.
I had loads of help.
Come on, when I said no bananas, I thought you'd got it.
Dude, I mean, for real, I thought it was Ultra Wings for the first half of the game, and then I thought it was RC Airplane Challenge, and then
Zomba's just got it in the chat just now.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. It's 1976 back to Midway. Oh my
it is
God.
Indeed,
and
Brian.
You even talked about this game at the beginning of the show.
As soon as cockpits were mentioned, I thought, oh, he's got this. That is such a good one.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. There are islands. You are flying around planes. There are absolutely no hats, taco pizzas, bananas.
There's no bananas
or
in it. I was not sure because there are islands, but you can't see bananas on them. There are trees on them, but I don't see banana trees.
I think
I'm having a look now on the video. Wait, is that a banana? No.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if the scientist had a hat on it, but he didn't have a hat.
Glad you checked. Checked. You're very thorough.
But yeah, indie developer for sure. I didn't know.
Ivanovich, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Because they've done quite a few games.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've really enjoyed most of what they've done, but yeah, they generally make a little bit on the jankier side of games. And this was, I think, one of the more polished releases we got from them. But this is good. Oh, Looper the Underground Gamecat reminds me. It reminds us all, really, with the €5.
No,
1976 actually has a sequel on other platforms called 2076 Midway Multiverse. This is like the sci-fi version. This is like if you like Gradius, if you like R-Type. That's right.
Wow.
They did actually make a sequel on other platforms. Not yet brought to PSVR. I asked that very, very question. I think we have. I think this is. I don't.
That has voided this, and so Brian, it's a draw.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up Midway Multiverse in case you guys don't know what it looks like.
Midway, yeah, I want to see this.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I mean, I really like 1976, but the
I'm
shooters
having a blast with it, man. Like, I was saying before the show that as a kid, these were the games, all the space shoot 'em ups. These were my favorites, where you constantly got to upgrade your ship, and it was shooting everywhere, had homing bullets and stuff. And so to experience that in VR has been absolutely wonderful. And so I like that you can actually go back to earlier levels with your upgraded planes and stuff. So I'm super excited to go. I think there's a platinum, but I'm definitely gonna go for it.
There is a platinum, and I don't think I got it. I'm literally 30 minutes away from getting it. Like I just have to level up like my guns or something just a little bit more in order to get take that last trophy, and I need to get back and get that trophy, that platinum, because yeah.
And it's on sale right now. I would say, from the little I've played it, if you are into those kind of arcade games like me, get it. It's definitely a game that whenever I show people VR, it's one that I'll get them into, because it's a really great way of transitioning, because you're playing. What I love is the main game is you've got this like cinema screen in front of you, and you're sat in this little like makeshift plane, and you're playing it as an arcade game. It has the 3D-ness of it. And it actually reminds me, we used to have Sega World in London many decades ago, and it was the first time I ever experienced VR. And there was a room where you sat in these like fake makeshift planes, and you put a VR headset on. And I bet you if you wore it now, it'd make you feel sick, because the graphics were probably terrible. But back then it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
But it kind of reminded me of that. So there's a lot of emotional fondness to that game. And you know, whether it's pixel ripped or this, it's a great celebration of retro gaming, but in the new era. So, yeah.
Yeah, just to follow up on what you were saying about it being on sale, Myles, it's actually on an amazing sale. It's usually a $20 game. Without Plus, it's only $6. With Plus, it's only $5. And this is absolutely one of those games where I was like, you know, where I had played it, and I was like, it just feels a little light on content. And so, you know, if it ever goes on sale for $12, $14, even $15, I think I'd said, absolutely worth picking up. And so for the ridiculous price of $5 or $6, highly recommended. It was a lot of fun for sure. I love these style of games, and really
that's good.
More so now than I ever did. When I was young, I was like I was interested in shoot 'em ups. It wasn't until the last few years where I really like started going gung ho with them. I was like, oh man, I'm really understanding like the gameplay loop here. It's all about memorization. It's all about figuring out what the best upgrades are, and pushing forward with those. So, big fan.
That's awesome. Ash VR, the groovy game cat with the $2 tip, probably the last tip of 2022, Brian.
Yep.
Could be. Happy New Year, all. PSVR2.
Yay.
Oh,
nope.
No, another one.
Okay.
This is the last tip of 2022 from Stike Gamer, the VRAF Gamecat, with the €5 tip. Going on a limb and saying there won't be a better stream after this one for the entire year. That is quite the claim.
Well, so here's what I didn't tell you guys. I was talking to AJ earlier in the week, and I was like, what are you doing for New Year's? And he was like, nothing. And I was like, okay, because he seems to like he's you know, all alone, big empty house, and I'm also gonna be all alone, tiny little apartment for New Year's Eve, and so. And so we were like, well, what do we do? How do we bring in the new year with the cats? Like, what do we do? And so, even though this, Myles, is officially the last PSVR GamesCast Live of the year, you very well might see AJ and I streaming live tomorrow. Something that's pretty laid back. Maybe
Rec Room. I can't believe it. Awesome.
Yeah, and I would do Rec Room if there was like, you know, if literally thousands of people or hundreds of people could join us. But you know, there are room limits that keep too many people at bay. And so this, even though this is the last GamesCast of the year, there very well might be a countdown to New Year's stream tomorrow night. Leading up to midnight. I know that you are occupied tomorrow, Myles. I know that Wes is getting ready for his Vegas trip. We would have absolutely enjoyed both of your companies to be there. Both of your company, both of you to be. I don't know how to phrase that properly. But I think it's just going to be me and AJ. So hopefully you guys, anyone who doesn't have anything to do, anyone who doesn't have a party to go to or family to see or anything else going on, come by and hang out, man, because that's what this community is all about. It's like, want to be there for you, and simultaneously, you guys can be there for us.
When I get back from my night out, because I'm not going to be drinking much anyway, I'll probably chime in and see how things are going. So yeah, there's that. Oh wow, we got more. We got
They're not.
Marco XL
They're not going to let us end the stream, Miles.
with the $5 Canadian tip.
Mm-hmm.
Testes.
One, two, three.
1, 2. There we go. Ryan Baran with the $5 tip. Last one of the year for GamesCast Live. It's not VR that I know of, but R-Type Final 3 Evolved will be out spring 2023 using Unreal Engine 5.
Yep.
But you know what I'd love to see in VR? Prices for.
So actually, Ryan, the interesting thing is we had a GamesCast with, and part of the title of one of our GamesCasts was that R-Type Final 3 will actually have a VR mode, which is interesting to say the least. We don't know the extent of it. They said basically VR launch sequences. So we don't know if the game will then switch to the side profile view and just kind of like 3D effects going on, or if you're only allowed to play the launch sequence in VR. And I think they said PSVR 1. Like, I don't even know if they mentioned PSVR 2. It's been a little while since this announcement came out. But yeah, R-Type Final 3 to some degree or another will have PSVR support or VR support. We also got
Blasphemy
Thank you.
with the $4.99 tip. Love, happy PSVR 2 year, everyone with a cat and 2 glasses. Ching. Very nice. Thank you.
Glasses. I thought this is how bad my eyes are. I thought those 2 glasses were like for ladies' legs that were like this.
That does look it.
That's all I got.
The thing is, emojis are very small on YouTube, because when I got the custom ones made for membership on YouTube, there's some that it works, but it's like they're not as big as Twitch, and they should be a little bit bigger. So isn't that confusion? Skiva 007 with the $5 tip, the final tip of GamesCast 2022. Love this channel and everyone on it. You have one of the best communities out there. Happy holidays to everyone here. Heart, can't wait for Feb 20 seconds. 20 seconds. It's 2 a.m. here.
Yeah.
Oh wait, and here is the Fenner PSVR with the $2 tip. Nice blue tip, which is the final tip for GamesCast Live 2022. What a one to end on. $2 tip for PSVR 2 brackets. Notice the space.
Yeah. But also notice where he put the space. PSVR space 2.
It does my head in.
Not the stupid Sony way. PS space VR no space 2. It just looks so.
I don't like it. It looks so disjointed.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Get with it, Sony. All right, dude. Thank you everybody for hanging out. Thank you, Boom Mike, for just doing this the entire show. Really, really appreciate all you guys hanging out, and of course the ridiculous generosity tonight. I mean, I don't.
It's been incredible.
Yeah, I don't really even know what to say. You guys are amazing, and again, the least we can do is again be here for you tomorrow night, and ring in the new year with you. It's just amazing community. It's been amazing. I would say an amazing year, but it's not even an amazing year. Amazing 6 years. We've all been together. A good chunk of us have been together for more than half a decade. But also welcome to the channel. All the new cats out there. Welcome to some more tips coming in. Dennis Smiljanic. Is that right?
Smiljanic.
Yeah,
Smiljanic.
Oh, it's probably
Smiljanic. Yeah.
Smiljanic.
Yeah.
With a Canadian $28 says, last tip of the year for sure. Love the Bryan and Myles combination. Nice. We have one out there, Myles. We got one. Slowly converting you all. PSVR Underground, speak of the devil. AJ is here with a $2 tip.
Much love to AJ.
He says, "You get back here." It's like,
you get back here right now.
Did anyone just feel like we just had our leash pulled back? It's like,
yeah. Yep.
Owando Cat, Kirnando Cat with the €20 says, "Good night." Good night to you.
What a great. That is a good way to end. That's a great last tip for the GamesCast Live 2022.
It really is. Thank you guys
really
so much. Again, love you all. Make sure you subscribe to Myles. Click the link in the description below. Join us over on Discord, where these conversations happen 24/7. An awesome group of cats to hang out with. Amazing moderators, not just here over here taking care of the channel, but over on Discord as well. They've made my year so much better. You don't even know if you knew what was happening behind the scenes. The way that they take care of me and like coddle me and hold me close and swaddle me like a baby when I need to be swaddled. They are always fucking there for me. I can't believe it. Mako XL with the Canadian $2 tip. I swear we're going to be able to end the show at some point. It's devil horns right back at you. Get but that's me with the $2 tip. Says pennies. He hentai
Pennies.
Pennies.
We love your pennies.
Thank you so much.
Throw them as hard as you want at us.
Nice. Yeah, man, let's get out of here, man. And of course, if you don't, these things are so fucking long, man. This has been a 3-hour show. Not everybody can sit here for 3 hours and watch the video. So don't forget that we do have this up on Spotify and podcast services of your choice. Thank you, Jamie, for uploading these things. And I can't believe that Sci-Fi GameCat Henry at any point tonight will have timestamps up for this show because it's a fucking epic episode. But he does do that for us, and we love him so much for it, because if he didn't do it, there's no way that I would. There's no chance in hell that I would. So a lot of love, of course, to Sci-Fi GameCat Henry, and of course we're going to be I'm going to be guesting on his show soon over on Geekful Things. So keep an eye out and keep an eye on Discord. I'll definitely be promoting that when it gets closer. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody who tipped during the show. Thank you to everybody who supports us on patreon.com/Without Parole Games. Thank you to everybody who kind of helped me with 20 questions. Kind of, right?
It was good. I like that mode.
Right. And thank you everybody who hung out tonight. We love you so much. Of course, everybody who sat back and watched the show, just like I used to with Beyond and Kind of Funny. It doesn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there, and we love you just as much. Good night, Myles. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. Hope you had a good 2022, but 2023 is about to get so much better. It's the year of PSVR2. It's the year of the GameCat, Brian. Let's do this.
It's going to be
and get blah, 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 with the $1.99 tip. Boop, boop.
Boop. Let's go. Zombie 5150 in the chat says, "Can Sci-Fi GameCat Henry please timestamp each individual tip?" We would never see Henry again. Never.
You would never see. You would never see the actual the timestamps on the actual timeline. Because it'd just be like loads of lines pressed together.
My God.
Honestly, what a show! What a show! Good one to end on.
Yeah. Very generous, you guys. Thank you so fucking much. Like, I mean, I hopefully you guys know how thankful I am. You're just the best. We appreciate you so much. We'll see you over on Discord. Hopefully I'll see some of you in Fortnite. Sadukar, I've not forgotten. I owe you a game. Love you all. Good night.
Good night.